All right. So to recap, where we ended last time, Yaz was kind of dozing off there, but the question was if they wanted to make, or if the Motley wanted to make a contract with a being that was appropriate for the Midnight Court, which was focused on this idea of internalizing your emotions, kind of reconsidering your day, and calming down from the rages of busy life. What kind of entities might the Motley know about? And it was thought that Avery would probably have the most knowledge on this because of her kind of Hobkin and social build. So, rolling for that, there was 2 successes on that knowledge roll. But while I described kind of the 2 ideas that Avery had, it was just a good time to stop the session. Yaz was dozing off, and also it gave me time to plan this stuff out, which I'm ready for either route you want to go on now. So the 2 ideas that came to Avery's mind. The first one was rumors of a moth that it's like a parasitic creature in the hedge that feeds off of the emotions of Hobbs or any other kind of creature that goes through. Although it was recognized as a dangerous entity, it's not something that you would hunt down lightly, especially with your guys, Jeremy and Clarence, in tow. It would be challenging. The other one was this kind of semi-mythical, you're not even sure if it's real, machine, just kind of known as the machine or sometimes the transmuter, that can take glamour and change it into another emotion. So that kind of was thought of as this idea of processing your emotions and your thoughts for the day that brought this machine to Avery's mind, and figuring out where to even begin on that would be very challenging. So you've got kind of one that is a known dangerous entity and therefore might be something you could pursue at great risk. The other route was a more benign entity. You don't necessarily think it'd be something to be afraid of, but you don't necessarily know where you'd start. So the plan, as I remember, that you guys discussed was to kind of seal the deal with the Dawn Court first contract. That would be with the Blazing Buck. And then kind of immediately move on while in the hedge to pursuing one of these 2 leads. So as a reminder, it's kind of like evening, and you have Jeremy and Clarence, who I got pictures for.
So what you're saying is to do the nighttime first and then do the stag after when it gets to dawn.
I mean, I don't know that the time necessarily matters, but that would probably make it more powerful with the weird. Yeah, that might be the smart thing to do.
Another 2 question, Chris. When we do sign these up to be our patrons, we don't have to pick the powers just yet, right? We can still think on those.
Only because out of character. I guess I would say in character we would say that you had discussed that, but if we want to take some time and out of character work on that, I'm fine with that. We can just say that you worked it out with the entity and then out of character figure it out later. But I think that it would make the most sense that the contract explicitly says what the weird has to do in response to you calling on it, right? It wouldn't make sense to just leave it as yeah, you'll help us when we want.
I mean, if we're going to discuss the power type thing, then I mean, looking over the spring court. Hold on, I'm trying to find my post up here, which is the 2 that I picked. Okay, yeah. The two that I found to be very useful were the Gift of the Warm Blood, and which is a very very nice one because it heals aggravated damage. And then the other one was Gift of Warm Breath, which pretty much makes it where it gets rid of like fatigue and makes it where you can't be poisoned. It gets rid of just like fatigue and poisons and any ill effects.
Sure. As a reminder, you can just kind of pick those. There's no rule against you picking those. We kind of eliminated the mantle requirements for court contracts as written in the book. But if you want that to be your court contract and just copy it over, that's okay too.
Well, I because I'm dueling this with Yaz. Me and Yaz have to agree, and I know that there's probably going to be other ones that she wants as well. So I was actually going to try to petition you to let us have one each, but that's just me.
I would say only one of you needs to make a contract with it. Now, that said, it might not be able to give you more than one power, and you might need to seek out another patron goblin or whatever to get a second power.
Thing is how these are court contracts and will be called upon by others.
I mean, yes, I agree with what you said. I don't know what that was a response to me saying.
Well, it just you said they can only do one per. I was like, because it's kind of a power draw because of the. I mean, I know it's really the weird doing this stuff, but still, you know, their status and positioning type of thing, they can provide you with this contract. It's a court contract because, you know, multiple people can have access to it.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
without...
And to be clear, you know, just to use mechanical terms, these, or the slag stag, as you all call him, he only had 5 weird. So it's not like he's some immense, powerful creature that can give you a whole bunch of different contracts. But
we can take on different things to give us other powers, though, right? Within the court.
Yes.
Well, what I was trying to say is that not both of you have to spend the experience, right? If it's a contract that only you want, then Avery can just make a contract with another being, and therefore increase the power of y'all's court and increase the possible mantle of the court, and therefore increase your dice pools. So there's still an advantage to you guys working together on this court. It will probably be the most powerful court out of all of them that we make, but I don't know why you would both necessarily have to agree unless you are both, you know, just wanting to not be patient and wait to find another one to take turns or something.
I mean, I don't mind being patient at all. So I mean, I don't, because the one I want's a royal. It's not going to be cheap. So it's gonna, I'm gonna need at least 4 experience points. So I don't even have that right now.
Well, but this first payment of them is going to be as a goblin contract, is what he stated last time. So it's
yeah, I would say it's 2 and 3 instead of 3 and 4.
Okay, so then I can buy it then. Okay.
I'm not gagging for any contracts right now, so. If you're looking to get the healing one or the fatigue one, that sounds fine by me.
Okie dokie. I'm assuming, Chris, you already have an idea what you're going to ask for the Midnight Court then, if we do get the moth guy. Not moth guy, I'm sorry. If we get the moth.
Oh, there's whole adventures to find these things.
Oh, Lord, so we don't even know what powers they're going to get. And if it's already evening time, I vote we do theirs first, then me and Yaz's. We can do ours during the dawn, even though the time doesn't matter.
I mean, you kind of acted like this is just going to be a one-night thing, and then we're going to be done with it. It's like it
no,
maybe multiple days.
I understand that, but I'm just saying though that I'm just trying to line up what we're doing.
Right. What I'm saying is, if it's possibly going to be a multiple day or multiple night thing, then we might want to get the spring one done so we get you guys started off, and you know, you're one of you or both of you, depending, is going to have a decent contract from this, and then also you're both going to get mantle up from this, so that's going to help you out some and make you, you know, a little bit better than before. So if we're having to go do these things, might as well have those things in tow. So get that done first thing in the morning, and then we can decide, you know, where we go from there. Because these guys got to, I say these guys, out of character, these guys got to decide, you know, which one to go for, meaning we got to decide which one we're going to push for. So, I mean, it's not like we can just go, oh, hey, here's 2 things. Let's go do that. We need to
True,
kind of
true.
prep for that kind of stuff. I mean, we do have a hob in our hollow that might be able to give us information on that, depending on what she knows and what we're able to get from her. How to do the legwork.
So what is the what's the play then? Send these guys back home and call them on another day, or move into the hedge right now with them?
Well, like I was saying, we've given them 2 options. I know that you're not just going to start, you know, doing all the stuff for us because they're NPCs, but we've gathered them 2 options. We could spend some time trying to gather more information about those options. You know, both of them and us, you know, trying out, you know, contacts, people, things like that, trying to find out where to find them, what they're about, you know, what kind of situation we're going to be in, type of thing. And then when we've figured out that information, or when we're ready to prepared to go, then we can head out, like you said, probably during the night, since that would be a more more fitting situation. And then while we're doing that, tomorrow morning we just go talk to the stag guy and get these people, you know, set up. Because I mean, their choice of who to get is probably going to be on us, who we decide to go for.
That's right.
So we'll probably need to talk about that a little bit, and then, like I said, we'll just start gathering information. Have them gather information as much as they can. We'll gather information as much as we can. We come back when we have something, and then we can set out from there.
Okay. So do you want to fast forward a day and just give me your kind of summary of your actions during that day, or how do we want to do this?
It'd probably be the easiest. So let you know, like I said, at the end of the day, or at the end of the meeting there, just let them know, here's the 2 choices. Use what you've got to find out everything you can about them, so we're prepared for them. We'll you know, once we've gathered some information, we'll come back in a few nights, and then we'll make sure that we're prepped and ready to go. And then, you know, as they head home, just say, okay, let's meet up in the morning and go talk to the stag guy, and get you guys settled out, and then we can, you know, start gathering information, and then we can do that, I guess, in roles or whatever you want to do.
You got to tell me your approach for gathering information, of course.
Well, I would assume that if we're going for basically powerful hobs, then we should start by asking hobs. So we prostitute Avery there, and
Wow.
verbally prostitute, that is, not physically, and you know, get her to start get to people talking.
Yeah, I suppose any local hobs I might have heard of, any local hob markets or anything.
Sure, there's a goblin market that you could use. Is there a particular hob that you think you'd know that is like the most knowledgeable?
I mean, if we're discounting our salamander friend, who I don't think doesn't seem particularly socially
Yeah, she's not not a social butterfly.
Right. I don't know. I suppose there might be, some go-to hobs that, like coachman or problem solver type people.
I see a fixer.
I'd imagine I'd have met one at some point or another. Yeah, fixers. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, there's a goblin market in kind of basically on the hedge side, just on the other side of the river from where you live. If you enter the hedge down at Dunlop's Hollow there, it's not a very dangerous trek from there through the thorns. It's not along a trod, so there's some amount of risk involved, but it's not bad for you. You've done this many times, and you can find in the middle of kind of like a strand, is I guess how you'd say it, like a not very attractive beach-like environment with some palm trees and this kind of like really rough, gritty, dark, shattered shells instead of sand. There's a goblin market that sets up. They kind of just meet, set up some stands and trade knickknacks, whatnot. It's mostly for goblins, and that there's like, handcrafted items that were stolen from people that have small amounts of glamour attached to them and whatnot. They do have the occasional find that is a goblin fruit or a whatever the book calls them, a cog something, a device that's native to the hedge, the device equivalent of a goblin fruit. But there's this probably like 3.5 feet tall little bipedal anteater. It's like a really small anteater that's bipedal, that acts like the organizer and therefore the fixer for this goblin market. His name is Barnum.
And Bailey's.
Not Barnum, Bardum. And he, if you approach him, he kind of like waves at you with his snout, which appears to be prehensile, but then keeps talking to this kind of pixie-looking hob that eventually walks off. Yes, walks, not flies. And then Barnum says, "What do you want, changeling?"
Well, we're hoping for some information, really. And who exactly are we trying to find? What's the exact? Do we have like a proper name, or are we just trying to get a general lay of the land?
Well, you know that the machine is called the Machine. Otherwise,
right.
The Moth, you don't really have a name.
All right. Well, I suppose I'll begin by asking him about this machine. Whether he knows anything about it or has heard anything.
I mean, I've heard of it, yeah. I might know who you could talk to about that. I don't know where it is, of course. But, I mean, information has prices,
Well, of course, I understand that.
So, what's this worth to you?
Oh, well, I don't know. What would you be interested in, I suppose?
Oh, I do like information, too. You got any tantalizing bits of information that maybe hasn't passed by my ears yet?
I don't know. I suppose... Well, mainly we've just been doing changeling things, right? So and fetch things.
Well,
so
not exactly this last thing that we came across, but I'll kind of look at Avery and go, we might want to set up a cart first because we've got 2 bits of information we probably want to try to get from him and see if we can't just set up a tab and then pay it off at the end. That way we're not trying to figure out multiple things to hand off to him.
sure, and well, we'd also be interested in any information about some sort of moth, I suppose. Not the Mothman, but another hobgoblin.
He kind of looks at you in this. It's a strange way, like you don't know if he either thinks you're stupid or you're trying to play him. He says, ain't no hobgoblin like that. But if you're looking for the parasite, not the Mothman. That's free.
Well, all
you
right,
can have
good.
that one for free. That's up in Porky's Mausoleum. At least through there. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. Do I know what he's talking about?
Not really.
Is that where the
I don't.
bacon goes to rest?
I'll say I don't exactly know what you're talking about. No. Do you mean it's a lie, like telling porkies, or?
Well, maybe. Porky's Mausoleum is down, and it's part of the Endless Crypt. It's on the far side of it. As far as where to find it, it moves around, but if you're looking for it, the Endless Crypt is usually right around the corner.
I see.
Hard part's not getting to the crypt. It's getting out. Good luck.
Out of character, Chris, I thought basically everything that lived in the hedge was considered a hob.
Is it?
I don't know. That's why
I'm being a smartass. Yeah, I'm being a smartass.
Oh, okay.
Is it? Like, who knows?
Well, according to us, it is. So, yeah.
Cool. Good to know.
According to the people in the hedge, well, that's a different story.
All right. So about this information then about about the other thing. Yeah. I mean, I'm open to suggestions from the group of what they might be interested in.
Well, I mean, if he's going to give us free information about which we pretty much did about the moth, where to find them, if he has any other, and I'll look directly at him as like, do you have any knowledge of what they're up to, what's going on with that? Are they causing problems? Or they need to be put down or something like that? Or
He says, you talking about the parasite?
yeah.
The reason I gave you free information is because if you satisfy it or chew it, whatever happens, the Endless Crypt becomes more safe. Safe crypt means business opportunities.
It's all about business.
Yeah, you go over there, I can, I'll end up on top. We'll just put it that way.
So if we were to take care of that creature, you might owe us a favor.
I don't know you shit. I just gave you information for free.
Yeah, and you gave that for free. And if we were to go and take care of this creature for you,
I don't know
and
you
help
shit.
you along. Excellent.
my opinion of you might be improved, and we can then conduct business. But nah.
All right. So the machine. We do have some information. We got quite a bit of information, but something that might be a little more interesting to you is what we faced just a few days ago. And out of character, I don't know what we would call that one true fade, the King Louis looking motherfucker.
I mean, he goes by the name of King Louis, but I just wouldn't want to say his name. Just
I mean,
out
that wasn't
there.
what he went by. I don't remember if we even said he went by anything.
Yeah, we didn't. You guys knew him by reputation and by sight. Some of you did. But I just called him King Louis because he was an orangutan looking for
Sure. Yeah,
collecting
that's totally
people.
fair.
So yeah, I was like, I would say we interacted with that King Louis motherfucker, but we ran into him, capturing someone, and ended up helping someone who was apparently not affected by the hedge, or at least not that we could tell.
What information, with all of this that you're giving me, are you expecting to trade for this name that I could give you?
We're looking to set up some contracts. This is one of the possible options that we have. We're just trying to get as much information as we can that would help us with that, so that we don't waste our time on stuff.
Right, but you just gave me information to whet my appetite. What else do you have? Are you going to give me a name of this person that wasn't affected? What's the sell?
Well, I mean,
What am I buying?
really depends on how much information you're going to be giving us, because I have names, I have source of being, I've got some intriguing stuff about the person who may or may not have created this thing. And possible rumors of why it may or may not be here.
Okay. Why it may or may not be here. Will you answer whether it will or will not be here?
It depends on
That's
what you
part of
give
that.
me. That's the problem with dealing in information. You never know what's what until it's already been given.
Yeah, it's a gift-wrapped present.
Yep.
Let's say, like I said, I can give you the name of someone that I know has seen this machine you're looking for. Might be able to tell you more about how to find it. I can't be certain about that, but they've been to it. They've seen it.
Okay. And is that the most you have of it?
Unfortunately, it is.
Okay. So what I'd be willing to give you is I would say a description of what this being is that I'm speaking of, and the complete fact of whether or not it is actually here. That sound fair to you?
Yeah, he's like mulling it over. Okay, here's the way we do this. And he kind of walks over to a nearby table, grabs a piece of paper, and he flexes his shoulders like he's stretching out. And he says, all right, so once I enchant this a little bit, this piece of paper will be something where you write something down, and if the weird determines that it is as agreed, it will replace the words with the information that I've already instilled into this. Think of it as keeping information in escrow.
Sounds great.
All right. I need some privacy, though. And he
Understood.
kind of walks off into you know what? We'll say he goes towards the ocean part of this weird strand that appears out of nowhere in the hedge. Kind of, you can see his snout is up above the water, but his whole body is underneath it. Kind of a comical sight.
So, Chris, would this be a normal type of contract building that we would have access to as well, or is this a special contract he's using to do this?
This is not an ability you have, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't teach it to you.
Ooh, that's a nice
As a
ability.
goblin contract.
I mean, that's a great thing when you're selling and receiving information.
Well, he
But do you have
had
to
to
use a
give
snorkel?
something. You don't have to use a snorkel, probably. But he, yeah, I mean, it's something that he probably had to give up something in order to gain so that his business was better.
Right.
You know, so he might ask something of you in return for teaching it, but, you know, that's how goblin contracts work.
Yep.
So out of
Well,
curiosity, where does that debt actually go?
Which is a weird. Probably.
He probably gets more luck or something.
Yeah. Now, out of character question here. Because the goblin contract requires a debt every time you use it, does that mean that you have to put stuff up front as well and then also pay when you use it, or is
Yep.
it all?
That's a move.
That said, if you made it one of your court contracts for, say, the Dusk Court or something.
I was about to say
then-
that sounds like a dusk thing.
Yeah, I'm going to waive the goblin debt on court contracts.
So cool. When I make my contract up to be able to speak with any hob or any animal, I'll be able to. It'll be my court one. That's gonna be awesome.
Well, if you can swing it, you got to find the person who's able to do it.
I know.
and then-
I intend to do that much later.
All right. But Bardem comes out of the water, and the piece of paper is not affected. You know, who knows if that water is even real or if it just doesn't like paper, or who knows. But
The water just didn't like paper.
yeah, you never know. He does hand it to you. It's a blank sheet of paper. And he says, "Here, use my pen." And out of like a little fold in his skin, almost like a marsupial sack, he pulls a ballpoint pen out. Ballpoint because fountain pens suck.
I'm going to take a look at Avery and just kind of raise my eyebrow because I don't. It's not that I don't trust this guy. It's just he's a businessman. He's going to try to get everything he can out of it. I'm wondering if this pen is enchanted or some shit. So I'm going to ask you to roll a keening for me, and then I'm kind of wanting to, if I can express to Avery to do basically an insight check on this fucker.
Wit's empathy, I think, is the sense motive. And I'll let you add your hobkin. Yes.
Sure.
And my clarity is a 5.
Actually adds anything.
I think he was giving you a +1 dice for it before in other rolls.
All right.
Kind of like a social added.
All right. I just rolled the kenning. There's a lot of magical stuff around you if you want to focus in on that pen. Yeah, you think it could be a token. It definitely has the weird about it, but you are in the hedge, so who knows?
Yeah.
Avery, he doesn't seem like he's trying to screw with you, but he is a businessman, so either that means he's just all about business or he's good at screwing with people.
Right. Well, I mean, just don't commit to anything that you don't that you're not sure is true.
Okay. I guess we could start off this relationship with a little bit of trust, and I'm going to push aside my paranoia, and I will start writing on the sheet. Basically, what I'll give is a description of what I saw when I'm assuming mage out of character, but I wouldn't know in character. When the person created this, created the little French girl. I've forgotten her name already, but that's fine.
Imelda Tarkington.
Yeah, Imelda Tarkington. I don't give a name because I didn't say I'd give a name. I said I'd give the information of how she got there or her source. So, like I said, I'll do as descriptive as I can about what I saw when this thing was created. Not giving the information about what the actual Imelda said to it when she set it free or sent it out. And then I will also put that this being is definitely here in the state and in the hands of the freehold. Or soon to be freehold, I guess I could say.
All right. At that point, you can you take note that everything seems in order, and the ink seems to kind of almost like fade into the paper, and then you can kind of see through it because of the light. It's gone to the other side of the paper, and on the side close to you, in the same color of ink that you had written with, it tells you Remy the Toymaker. Just a name, as promised.
Right. And I guess I'll hand him back the sheet so he can read it.
Yeah, he does. And he says, interesting. You need this name, or can I just keep the sheet?
No, I got it. You can go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it sends me a copy elsewhere anyway, but this way I don't have to go back to my stash.
And I'll hand his pen back to him.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
All right. And just about the moth, since we may decide to go that route, do you? I mean, if you told us where it belongs and it's a problem, do you know anything else about it, just in case we decide to take care of the issue?
I know it's dangerous. He looks actually sincerely anxious right now, talking about it.
How dangerous?
Dangerous enough that to speak about it at length is uncouth to the weird.
It might get its attention. All right. And I'll look at the rest of them. Anybody else got any questions or anything they want to know? Out of character, Bobby, do you want to entreat this guy for a contract, or you want to go somewhere else for that?
I was gonna wait till later.
Okay. And I myself will bid good day to the anteater.
Yeah, you too, big guy.
And if everybody else follows, I'll start talking about our options. So go ahead, sorry.
So is there a reason why we can't do both?
I mean, even if we pick one over the other, well, if we pick the machine for this, or if it's chosen, then we can go check out the moth thing and maybe take care of it as a, boon to the hob community here, which, may increase our standing with them altogether. And if we pick the moth, then we'll just be getting 2 in 1 anyways. And then we can check out the machine at another time. But the question is, how dangerous is the moth, and are we going to have to beat it down first, or can we, talk it into submission, into an oath? Because part of that oath is going to have to be stop being a dick.
I mean, technically, if he's a parasite, it's in his nature to be that way. So, I mean,
Well, but there can be boundaries and limitations put on it. But then it's like we're asking you to empower this contract, but at the same time we're telling you to stop being what you're being. So, I mean, we're going to have to come in there with some strong arm stuff there.
I'd say hit up the machine first.
Just to check it out, or to just go straight into it?
Well, either one we go to, we're going to check it out first. We don't want to rush in.
Not sure.
Did we ever get any kind of a location or where it's at?
Nope, we just got the name.
I mean, now that we have this name, we should, probably try to investigate that. That's an easy first step.
Yep.
You want to do that today before reuniting with the other 2 gentlemen, Chamberlain and Clarence? Or are you guys wanting to wait to talk to Remy until you have them?
I would suggest... Go on, sir.
I was just going to say, technically you don't need them until you actually confront the machine.
Yeah, but, I mean, they're the ones going to be, leading this thing and benefiting from it, so they need to be at least a part of the entire process, if not, they're not going to be the ones leading it because they're NPCs, I get that, but they at least need to be part of the situation so that, they can have some kind of investment.
Right.
So I mean, if it's still morning time, we can go get the stag thing done and then go and set up a meeting with Chamberlain and Butler, and then share the information that we've got.
that way they can choose which one they want, and then we will go with them to help them.
Yep.
I mean, in all honesty, if we do them off, that's going to be 2 in 1 to get rid of the problem, and also, time to stop being a dick.
But the moth was very dangerous, right?
Yes.
Dangerous according to a 3-foot anteater, yeah. And
Fair.
probably to others. I mean, it seemed like he was truly, I would say, bothered by it. So it probably is a concern. And it seems to be blocking access to a certain part of the hedge. So there's a lot of things we can get out of taking care of that, even if we don't choose its contract.
All right. So you guys are just wanting to go talk to the slag stag, as you said, first, and then.
Really gotta stop we really gotta think of a different name than calling him Slag Stag. I mean, I know he's not gonna give us his name or anything.
He has a name that Chris has already given us. We just changed it.
Yeah. The usual. So, if you guys want to do that, how much do we want to role play this? Just a conversation, or do we want to actually have you guys track him down. I feel like he's probably going to be fairly easy, especially if you just call up Harold, the changeling that he was bonded to. Excuse me.
Yeah, plus our 2 pathfinders.
I would say, yeah, also to, we did sort of kind of get Harold out of a changeling's grip, so I'm sure he could probably at least call his friend.
Right. Well, Harold, who is still staying with Henry, is able to just kind of go out back, and then he makes a strange whistle, and this is out back of Henry's taxidermy place. and the buck, I guess doesn't appear, but Harold will open a hedge gate, and the buck kind of comes onto the other side. It doesn't actually cross over into the real world. So with that gate open, you can pass through, and the buck is ready to meet with you. It says, "Have you given thought to the nature of the favor you wish from me?"
It's you 2 Dawn people.
I mean, fuck if I know. What do deer like?
Well, it's saying the favor that you want.
Yeah, technically it owes us a favor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, we want that contract you wanted, right?
That contract, yeah, and also we want him to be the patron of our court.
Well, they don't become the patron. They just empower a court contract, so they're like a
Oh,
shared
okay,
thing.
I see. I thought they actually became like a patron, so like a totem. Sorry, that's what I was thinking.
Bit more involved.
Which contract is it exactly that you wanted? Out of character?
I mean, out of character. If I'm only going to have to pay 3 experience point, I want the royal one.
The Gift of Warm Blood on page 152. The other one she meant it was the Gift of Warm Breath, 1 page before that.
152, Gift of Warm Blood.
Pretty much just a healing one.
All right. The buck says, a contract that allows you to reach into the rejuvenating powers of flame.
Pretty much.
Very well. And the buck stomps down with a huge amount of force, and this like kind of blast of hot wind moves past you. And it kind of presses its burning hoof into the mud deeper and deeper and deeper until this scorched imprint seems to almost be baked into the ground there. And then it says, your own mark also. And then he kind of like points with his snout down in the mud as if you need to leave your own mark to actually seal this contract. You'll need to spend your experience and a point of glamour to seal this.
Okie-dokie. I'm literally spending all my experience points. You know that, right? Like all of them.
Sounds right, mathematical.
to get that contract.
I mean, that's a powerful contract, so yeah.
I know. And down 1 glamour. I already marked it.
All right, how are you making your mark in the ground?
Well, the loophole for this contract is you have to do a lethal damage, so I'll probably pull out my knife and cut my palm and just put it inside the dirt. And release glamour to it.
All right, so not signing a name, but leaving your blood with it.
Pretty
Very
much.
cool. Very thematic.
Also mark down the
She
lethal
really
too,
likes
'cause-
cutting herself.
I mean, a lot of my fucking loopholes are doing lethal damage to myself. Just so you know, a lot of my contracts have that in there.
All right. Well, with that, yeah, you are able to forge this contract, and why don't you and please get or kind of work with Yaz here to figure out what this mantle should be, since y'all are going to be in the same court. But the first dot of any mantle merit is it gives you some kind of it gives you a mantle dots bonus to some kind of roll that's usually like a mundane roll, either investigation of certain things or some kind of check that is associated with a certain kind of mundane action. So what this new mantle that is created for Dawn, what kind of bonus do you add for the Dawn mantle?
For example, the spring one is gain bonus dice equal to your character's mantle dots to mundane rolls to seduce or attract someone.
I mean, that still works with animals for me, so that works for me as well.
Yep, luckily it says to attract as well as seduce.
All right.
That's fine by me.
So just copy that exact one to attract or seduce someone. Very good. So attract either in a honest way or for deception. Very good. Then that is what the first dot of mantle does, and we'll say that Avery, whenever you create a contract, you'll get, the same number of dots as mantle. Let's just say that you also get a dot of mantle. We'll say all the mantle dots will end up being free since we're spending so much experience doing other stuff.
Okay, so I don't have to actually save 2 more experience points to buy the contract for the mantle then?
You bought the contract, so you actually have the contract, and now Avery has access to it.
Okay, beautiful.
She can buy it as she wants to. And you get the first dot of mantle, both of you, for free.
Yes.
Okay.
And where was this? It was 150, 142?
152 for the contract and 117 for the mantle.
Yeah, so... okay, and it already says dice pool, wits plus medicine plus mantle.
Yep.
So in this case, that actually is plus mantle, not plus weird, because...
That's completely fine.
Yeah,
I have
because this
medicine,
is
so
your
I'm not worried
court.
about it.
Yeah, this is your court contract. So this time we're actually using mantle. I said before that if you buy a court contract, switch it out with weird, but for these actual court contracts you're making, it's going to be plus mantle.
Perfect.
All right, great. Then that is sealed, and the Dawn mantle is formed. You can feel a rejuvenating light kind of emanate from yourself, and everything you touch seems to almost age backwards at a normal, slow pace, right? Something that you wouldn't normally be able to sense, but if you started picking up the pieces of a glass that just broke, it might start putting itself back together before your very eyes.
Wow.
Okay. Anything else we want to roleplay with this? Anything else you want to say to the Blazing Buck? I mean, the Slagstag? I mean...
Insert new name here.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I want to thank him, but there's like I said, all the books I read say never thank the Fae, so...
Sure, this was a favor owed.
Yep.
Well, then in that case, the Buck says, my best to Parissa.
Is there any chance you know anything about the machine or the moth?
I've heard of the moth, of course. A dangerous creature.
I keep hearing that.
I will say that what I've heard have been rumors. And conventional wisdom about this creature should not be trusted. Other than that, I have no specifics.
And you've heard nothing of the machine?
This is something simply called the machine. I'm sure I know nothing about
Remy,
such
the Toymaker?
I've heard of a Toymaker before. A few. Some hobgoblin, some true fae. I've never heard of a name Remy.
Added that back to Dawn Quest.
What was that, Jason? You were cutting out a little bit for me.
I went ahead and added that royal contract to the Dawn list in the document.
Oh, cool.
And if you two want, I can just toss the spring mantle list into there too, so you can take a look at it. I mean, it's got that one we just talked about. The next one would be gain bonus dice equal to your character's mental dots when taking mundane actions that encourage or bring about overindulgence. And then gain dice equal to your character's mental dots during mundane teamwork actions to help an ally achieve her goals.
That's a good one too.
Regain an additional willpower point when you would regain one through your character's needle. And then the last one is once per chapter, you may convert a single clarity condition into a different beneficial condition of your choice. When you do regain one clarity, and then your character may use this to convert an ally's clarity condition instead.
In any choice, or any chance, any case? What am I trying to say? In any case, I think is what I'm trying to say. We can work out the mantle stuff for higher tiers later on, right?
Yeah.
There's no rush for that.
All right, so now that we got that done, and we got what little bit of information we could, I guess now we go set up a meeting with Chamberlain and Butler to get together, see if they found anything in the day. I mean, they got normal jobs. If they were able to bring anything up, see if they know anything about what we found, and then tonight we can go looking for. I guess we go looking for Remy would be the first thing together.
Well, if you call them up, Chamberlain, he answers while driving. He's got a longer ride to meet out with you guys if you're meeting in eastern part of the state. And he says, I'm sorry, I was quite busy and unable to look into this matter for quite a bit. Although I did hear from, he would say I'm trying to remember the name here already, Mr. Butler. Mr. Butler had some thoughts on the matter while tending to some termites. I'll just summarize and say that he was very negative about the moth. Perhaps you should hear from him on his thoughts, but they seemed reasonable to me. I also mislike some of the implications he started to see. But I'll arrive there in about another 70 minutes, it seems.
Sounds good. See you when you get here.
And if you call then Clarence, he says, yeah, so like I was talking to Jeremy, you don't think it's a little weird that there's this moth thing and the Mothman went missing and we have a Mothman? I just feel like moths might be above my pay grade. Something about it doesn't seem right.
Okay.
Like, I got to thinking, well, never mind. I don't want to say that. You get what I'm thinking, though, right? Without talking about it, and don't talk about it because that could summon something. But like, you kind of get what I'm saying.
I get where you're leading to, yeah.
That's something I don't want to mess
we
with.
have to deal with. It might be something we have to deal with in the future as well.
Yeah, but that's something we need.
That's
a whole
future
freehold.
problems.
Yeah, that's a whole freehold problem, not a Clarence Butler problem.
Right. Gotcha. I mean, you got a point.
Well, and I might be totally on the wrong page here.
I don't know. From what all the information we've gathered, this thing's dangerous, so we may not be prepared for it. We may have to put it off on the schedule until later. Something we got to deal with at another time whenever we're a little more, equipped.
Sure, but on the other hand, because I was dealing with termites, I wasn't able to look into this machine. You get any leads?
We have a name of someone who is supposedly definitely seen it and or worked on it.
Ooh, well, that does seem like a good lead. Hob, Changeling.
Hob. Well, according to the source.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm only like 8 minutes out, something like that.
Take your time. Be safe.
Yeah. And he will, or both of them will arrive over the course of a few minutes. It's getting to be like dusk, I assume, is when you wanted them to meet.
Close to, yeah, I guess.
That'll give you some time to go through the hedge. It's Bobby's time to shine.
Yeah.
All right, give me, let's say, a 5-minute break here.
Okay.
Does that mean we're good?
Here.
I'm here.
All right. So where we left off there, Bobby asked any occult hits on the moth or machine. What approach were you using to see if you heard anything?
From my memory or experiences?
I mean, you've heard the same rumors that a lot of these are saying about the moth being dangerous. You haven't heard anything about a machine. You have heard of various toymakers and kind of craftsman types, though. A Remy? No. Maybe you could have, or still could, try to track one down by their work if you were able to find an item made by this toymaker, but no, like prior knowledge. So, when everybody is kind of all convened at, I guess, Enix's place, where are you moving from here?
Well, I mean, I guess technically we would, make sure we share all the information that we've gathered, the name and everything. See if they've ever heard of the name. See if they know of anything that we found out. Share the misgivings of Mr. Butler about, heading towards the moth at this time. Make sure that we get everybody's thoughts out there, and if anyone thinks we should be doing something about it right now, that we listen to them and see what they got to say.
I mean, they kind of just agree with everything you're saying and are willing to go along with whatever you guys decide. But Clarence has already made clear that he's anxious about pursuing the moth, at least. Like that's going to be something where he becomes hard to drag along.
All right, he's very apprehensive. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so I'll turn to my group and go, okay, well, it looks like that it was a good choice to start with the machine in the first place. So I guess we're looking for the trail of Remy the Toymaker.
Does anybody have a contract to help find a person when we have their name?
I doubt it. It would have to be a built goblin contract, because there's not one like that in the book that I know of.
I mean, I have a contract that gives people bonuses to something happening. It's called Changing Fortunes. And I know that's very vague, but I don't really know how to describe it other than that. Basically, any roll towards the goal, which we could just say is finding this person, gets bonus dice, and everything taking you away from it gets negative dice. So, I mean, that kind of helps, I guess. But, getting a starting point is kind of the problem.
Changeling whispers a story to the wind of a strange turn of events that befell her in Arcadia. We then add or subtract 2 dice from her target player's next roll, or lower or raise his exceptional success threshold by 1 success per success roll.
Wait, is that the one that lasts? I have 2. Is that the one that lasts just 1 roll, or is that the one that lasts extended? Let me see. Now I'm opening my book. It might be the other one. It might be Spinning Wheel.
The Changing Fortunes doesn't specifically give. It says duration.
Spinning Wheel is the one. Okay. Changeling names and experience which must be reasonably probable and not overly specific. For example, meeting the Autumn Queen or getting hit by a car. Or rolls leading to this event made by the target or other characters gain bonus dice equal to the successor's roll to invoke the contract, while rolls obstructing it suffer the same penalty. So, I mean, we still sort of need, to have a chance, but the way I see it, it's sort of, it guides you towards whatever you want to have happen.
Yep, we got to start working down that path, and it will help us down that path. What grouping is that in? What?
It's the one before Jewels, whatever's the one before Jewels.
Crown.
The end of Crown.
Yep, Spinning Wheel. Royal. Good lord.
Yep, and it's pretty easy to get the glamour contract down. You just need to prick the target with a needle or pin. And if you do it on someone who's willing, it inflicts no damage. So doing it for friends is easy, apart from the willpower cost.
Right. Okay. So we need to get us a starting point. We've got a name. We probably should start asking around in some of the more populated areas of the hedge and see if we can't get maybe a residence or somewhere they frequent, and that should give us enough to start tracking from there with the help of Avery's gift contract.
At this point, Chamberlain says, "I apologize for interrupting, but there is a contract I have that may be of use also. This is a Toymaker, And I, as a changeling who works with children, well, one of my contracts allows me to follow memories along the threads that they leave behind. Perhaps if we find a child with one of these toys, we can follow the memory of the toy instead of the child. Just an alternative. If
That's
you
true.
happen to find something.
I mean, it doesn't actually have to be. I mean, if we find the toy in and of itself without being attached to a child, it should be the same, right? We'd follow the toy.
Yes. It should work that way.
All right. So, our friend at the market said that he's a toy maker. We might go back there and see if there's any items that are being sold from him or that were created by him. That might be one way to go. We could ask, like I said, we could ask around in more populated areas if they know of him or if they have any items created by him, and then we can work with those two contracts together and probably get a good chance of finding him.
The market's probably the better deal.
Yeah.
Well, are you going back to Bardham's Market? Which would be, you're going to have to follow a trod, not even a stable trod. You might come across something interesting. We could have some, not random encounters, but some side encounters. Or Enoch, do you know of a market near here?
I don't know. Do I?
Yeah, well, do you? You'll have to tell me.
Oh. I mean, how many markets would there be in a local area?
It wouldn't be unreasonable for there to be one over here. It's just, would you, given your proclivities, have asked around and found it?
Well, I mean, if there's, I guess we're talking statewide in this case, because that would be where our domain is. So, I mean, I guess I could see, a couple of them, all over the state, or all over what would be the state in the hedge, I guess, the locations. So, I mean, definitely, if there's one close, he would have, Enoch would definitely at least be aware of it because of, what he does. So, I mean, yeah, if there is one closer, Enoch would probably know about it. And I would like to start mapping things out a little bit so we can find if there's trods between these places too, so that we can have those, further going out that nice little idea of mapping out trods.
Well, then here's your choice. You can either go to the local market or take the trod back to the Charleston market that Avery went to and brought you to, and therefore map out that trod a little bit as best as you can. Those are your choices. Basically,
Is anybody making a flowchart yet?
Yeah, right.
First, to up the map that you gave us.
Charleston's in the middle of the state, and right now y'all are in the eastern side of the state.
I mean, how big was that market? Was it just him, or were there others there? Was it a nice size?
It looked like there were maybe 25, 30 different stalls.
Okay. So more like a mall as compared to the flea market that I would be.
Well, no, that's still flea market size.
Well, I know there's fucking humongous flea markets, especially like in Dallas,
Sure.
like that. But I'm just saying the normal way you would think of it, you know.
No,
large
even
group
then,
of
a
people.
flea market is usually like a farmer's market might only have a couple stalls, but a flea market usually has more than a dozen or two. It's definitely not what you'd call like a mall. It's not the biggest. It's not the biggest goblin market you've ever seen. Not like the kind they have in Arcadia proper.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course.
It's definitely bigger than the one right out here near you, which is like 4 or 5 different salespeople in an underground kind of chamber.
So, yeah, I think we head back to Charleston via the Trod because that's going to have more of a chance to have a widespread or a wider selection of things we can check out. I'll keep the one closer to me in mind so that we can use it later on if need be.
You guys good with that?
Sounds good to
Bigger,
me.
better.
Yep.
All right. Well, then, in that case, you take the Trod. Why don't we have somebody roll a... I mean, there's no need for a survival roll. Why don't we just have somebody roll a d10? Just to see how interesting the result is.
Let's let Yaz the Fate Monger roll that.
Well, an 8. All right.
Good old 8.
That is a success if we were doing success things, but we're not. All right. As you pass by, you eventually enter a swampy area. And I will... Yes, Sophie. I will use this image that we saw before. You hear kind of splashing, maybe bubbling, kind of from the lake here that you see, or the swamp here. You get to this kind of outcropping that looks like a pretty clear view over this swampy area. You can see kind of across to deeper thorns on the other side. You can see what looks almost like bubbling from inside the swamp water. It's opaque. You can't see into it. And there is this shack with a skull on the front. The odor is somewhat brimstony from this. It's a rare encounter to find something along a trod. They are ephemeral in that they seem to change often, and what you find once you may never find again. So it's up to you if you think this is worth investigating or just kind of passing along.
Well, now, being that it's technically alongside a trod, it's something that would probably be here permanently, right?
No. So things can appear along trods, and unless it's a stable trod, what is here today might not be here the next day. There are like inns, for example, that are known to appear with interesting hosts that you might only meet once in a lifetime, and then they disappear again and are not found again along the same trod.
This trod that we're on, is it considered a stable or is it unstable?
It's unstable. I think there's a merit stable trod, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's having them between the...
between two locations. Yeah.
Well, yeah, between two locations or between hollows, I think.
Right. It means that both endpoints in the hedge and in the real world are the same constantly. They never change. But this would be an unstable trod. What's that?
I just think it basically means it's anchored to the real world if it's stable.
Right. And while the
It's anchored
endpoints,
to a place.
yeah, the endpoints can be anchored without the midpoints or any point along the trod being anchored. So just because this is not stable doesn't mean that the endpoints aren't stable.
Right. Yeah.
You could have one that's got a hollow, whatever, on one side, and the other side could be a place in the real world.
Sure.
Yeah. What I'm trying to get around is just trying to gather what knowledge we have in character about trods and how to affect them. If we can change an unstable trod to a stable trod, over usage or over investment or whatever, and then I'm assuming even stable trods could still have these, things pop up alongside them as you go along and stuff. If we're going to be mapping stuff like this out, then the only things we're going to need to map out is the actual places if they're permanent, and then the stable trods between them.
I vote let's explore though, because I mean, if it's not stable, we'll never find it again.
You never know what you'll find. So, everybody want to go, or do we just want to move along?
Investigate.
I want to know if there's a witch in there.
Yeah, maybe politely knock on the door.
Sure.
Normally not a good thing to find witches.
Skull on the front, and you guys immediately know. Nah, if Chris was going to give us something mean and nasty, he wouldn't put a skull on the front.
It would be a gingerbread house with
Knock,
candy
knock,
all
knock.
over.
Okay. Who's doing the knocking?
I'll do it.
Okay.
8d6 piercing damage. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
What a jerk! I'm just.
That's D&D. Yeah. Yes, Sophie, you can come up here. You knock, and then opening the door is, this kind of normal-looking, young adult woman in a pencil skirt, mousy brown hair. She says, "Oh, hello. I don't think we've met. Who are you looking for here?"
I mean, does she have?
I'm guessing that'd be you.
Looking for me.
Well, really, just anybody here.
Well, do you want to come in? And she kind of opens the door wider.
Do I see a cauldron?
No, but the whole place smells like a damn cauldron.
What does a cauldron smell like?
Depends on what's cooking.
Depends on what you cooked. Yeah.
I'm just saying that the swamp smells swampy. It's mildewy.
It's hag country.
Do you want to partake of the hospitality of this lady?
Well, I mean, you probably want to. Yeah, I mean, we could partake of hospitality and then probably explain to her that we found this place, not that we were actually coming looking for her, because that's a different state of mind.
I'm firmly of the belief she is someone, and we were looking for someone here.
Okay.
Are you coming in?
Sure.
All right. Inside is a pretty standard cottage for the hedge, at least. There are a few strange knickknacks, like taxidermied strange heads that look like mixture of animals, jackalope style. There's a number of books in a script that looks almost like Cyrillic, but not quite. Something like a mix between ancient Greek and Cyrillic. You see a number of kind of religious charms, from rosaries and crucifixes to Buddhist prayer beads and other stranger goods. and you see a big net kind of decorating one wall. Looks like it was pulled out of the swamp. And indeed, there is a cauldron that seems to be cooking a soup of some kind. Smells...
Is it a sock soup?
A sock soup? No. Seems to be lots of onion in there. Whatever else it has, it's overpowered by onions. Not the most adept, most delicious smelling soup, but not bad. It's edible, it seems.
But not laundry.
Definitely not laundry. You hear kind of faint singing from outside, but when you kind of go to a window to look, you don't see anything. The woman says, well, most people when they come by, they're looking for something. Or someone. I don't think I've ever had visitors that were looking for me.
Well, we were looking for somebody, not specifically you.
Oh. Well, I must have misunderstood then. Well, my fellow fey creatures, is there a favor that you're calling upon, or did the mistress promise you something that I now have to pay up for?
The mistress.
Yes, my teacher.
I don't mean an insult. Are you a witch?
In training, yes. Ms. Griga.
I count that as credit.
Ms. Griga is the main witch here. If you're looking for some help with something, wart begone or whatever sort of potion you need.
No, I was just betting on this being a witch house. That's pretty much it.
Oh yes, I mean, well, the decor is intentional. It's meant to convey the manner of building this is. I'm Matilda, by the way. Any names or pseudonyms you wish to go by?
I'm Bobby.
Wave, I'm Madison.
It's nice to meet you. Like I said, is there any order you wish to place with the mistress, or?
I mean, honestly, we just came upon your house. I didn't know you had a mistress.
Out of curiosity, if we did place an order, how long would it take? And how would we get it?
Of course, that depends on what you order. Some things only take a matter of minutes or hours, depending on how much processing is needed. Other orders can be up to a year and a day.
Year and a day?
But
It's a common theme.
as far as how you get it, the mistress and I can, of course, enter your world, or I should say, the human world, fairly easily. I guess it was my world, too, not too long ago.
What are the postal regulations on potions?
Well, messenger moles are extremely reliable, of course.
Do they have full access to hollows? The messenger moles?
Well, I guess it depends on the hollow. I suppose you could manufacture one that is protected against them, but that seems such a waste.
Sorry, I was just thinking about Fallout 4 and the moles.
I don't remember the moles, honestly. But,
They had landmines strapped to them and they would come up and blow up on you.
Oh, awful.
Wow.
Oh, awful. But
Them
Matilda
aggressive moles.
says, oh no, she's getting louder again, isn't she? And then you can hear the song outside kind of starts to swell, and Matilda closes the window and like puts this like foam thing that she's got hanging next to the window along the gaps in it. She says, well, now that she started singing, you might want to stay for a bit. I'm not keeping you here, of course. This isn't some sort of trick. I just don't recommend traveling along the lock when the siren is singing. She's a bit of a problem.
I thought they preferred beaches and, more seaworthy stuff.
I wish that were true, my friend. No, the merfolk around here are quite a thorn in our sides. Honestly, I've tried to convince the mistress that we should just pick up and move to a market somewhere and create a nice new hollow for ourselves, but she's stubborn, and there aren't any good merfolk exterminators these days.
Does this house have chicken legs or anything like that?
She seems to have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
We're not talking about Baba Yaga.
No. Well, at least Matilda doesn't know what a Baba Yaga is. That doesn't mean that Griga doesn't, but Matilda doesn't know.
A famous witch. Her house had giant chicken legs, could walk around. Pretty cool.
Oh. Well, that would be very convenient, actually. But, no, to my understanding, the house is immobile. And again,
as much as anything here can be.
To what is, I think, quite a shame. Because I really don't like... Do you know of any Mer exterminators?
I mean, have you ever just asked them to leave? Just leave you alone? As in go away?
By the way, at this point, Butler is looking like he's not an exterminator, trying to look away like nobody call on him. It's one of those
where exterminate insects.
The teacher better not look at me kind of things.
I think he's only up to small rodents. Are these merfolks part fish, part lizard? Not familiar.
Well, most of them are fish men and women, but there are a handful that are crocodilian with humans. The conventional half.
Which is the conventional side?
The conventional half is fish on the bottom, man or woman on top. The other kinds, well, the merfolk don't let those leave their little settlements. I think they're seen as weak or vulnerable or something like that. In any case, we haven't had a problem with those. Only with the conventional kind.
So the siren serenades them?
Oh, no, just different words for the same thing. The siren is one of them. Well, you're welcome to stay here as long as you need. If you want to wait it out, if you're wanting to go out, I think I can... Mistress won't be too upset if I spare you some earplugs. That's a simple sort of token to fashion.
Good old
What's the cost?
The cost? Oh, I suppose I hadn't thought of that. Well, if you would spread the good word of Mistress Griga's devices and potions, I think that would be equitable.
What kind of devices?
Well,
Does she have a catalog?
They're bespoke, mostly.
Wheels?
Spoke, but you're very charming. And she, slaps you on the back. No, custom. mostly garments that have additional properties, but and any manner of tokens can be constructed. I have been working on various kinds of enchantments to cellular telephones. I think that Mistress Griga will be left behind if she doesn't get onto this new wave of technology.
So you're designing apps or actually hardware?
A little bit of both. I was a computer science major before I started here.
Any examples of your work?
Let's see. I did work on trying to have a smart hollow app. Controlled various hob-related actions in there in a particular hollow. What else have I done? And out of character, what do you think somebody like this would do? Somebody else give me an idea.
Previously, a computer programmer turned into a witch making tokens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Tokens and potions.
Yeah, what would she have done?
If she's trying to push the boundaries of technology using Fey magic, I don't know, there's maybe like a contract app or something. Keep track of your contracts.
Especially ones that actually take currency to actually, or
Oh,
debt, yeah.
a financial app for debt, for goblin debt.
Yeah, there you go.
A hedge antenna.
Yeah, well, she will say, I made a luck tracker.
Does that help you know when to sleep in?
Well, that's the smart use for it, yes.
How exactly does it track that?
Unlucky?
Well, it uses a combination of some contracts with just standard modeling to determine the trends in your luck and when certain things are coming due, if you understand my meaning. So yes, it's a when to sleep in sort of app. I also attempted to, try to work on allowing communication between the hedge and the mundane world, an ability to use the old phantom toll booth anywhere you want in your pockets. I worked on the ability to actually make a connection network, a sort of social media for hobs, so to speak.
So Hob Tinder?
Well, she looks like she wants to say that wasn't it, but that was it.
I don't know, sounds like an Avery thing to me.
And then she says, but if you're interested, by all means, we can try to get in touch with the mistress and she can set a price and I can get to work. If you're wanting to commission something. And of course, there's just simple tokens.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that for things like the communication back and forth between the hedge and reality, and then the social media side, it'd be more of we're investing in the development of this thing, and because you need more people to get it to be able to use it before it becomes actually, useful. I mean, that would be...
Are you trying to say Zuckerberg is actually a fae that's just gathering information?
No, because fairies have emotions.
It's a lizard man.
Yeah. mean, the whole mobile phantom phone booth is a pretty cool idea. Especially if that extends to the data plan, and that therefore you could be like an ultimate hacker.
Imagine all the pictures you take and send somebody.
About fade dick pics.
Oh, that's another one. Spirit photography. Worked on adapting cell phones to be able to pick up ghosts. And, well, I suppose that has its own obvious uses. Not so useful in the hedge. More of a other side thing. Pun intended.
Yeah, but usually it's kind of hard for them to stay there long. Kind of like most cops. Hobs, whatever you want to call them.
I don't know about that. A lot of ghosts are quite attached to the area they're in. Anchored, one might say.
You're absolutely right, Matilda says.
And that might be. I mean, that a lot of these things sound like very useful devices, or at least applications.
Just to be sure, you're not a ghost witch, are you?
She kind of takes a knife from the table
It cuts Bobby.
and looks like she's about to cut her wrist, but then she just
Whoa, that's enough.
she pokes
Madison's enough as is, okay?
she pokes the fatty part of her hand a little bit, and it pushes in, and she's like, I've got flesh, so. And she puts that down. There's a bit of a coy grin, like she knows she's being fucking weird, but, she is still weird, whether she knows it or not.
So when a ghost materializes, do they actually make flesh, or how's that work?
If you ask that aloud, she says, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, it was out loud.
I just kind of assumed.
No. What are prices on these things? We talking about just splitting favors? Do you actually have some kind of things you want, or currency?
Well, for something that's never been done before, that tends to be more involved. For reproductions of previous works, or for very common requirements, that's where it's up to you if you want to pay with favors or with just some useful reagents, even. But that's the sort of thing that, unfortunately, I would have to ask the mistress about. I am just in training.
Do the male moles use addresses or anything like that?
No, they just seem to know where to go. I don't know how they work. Maybe that's something I should look into.
Maybe they're the dark entity behind the Fae.
No.
Ooh. I like the way you think. But I can give you here. And she pulls out a blank index card that, as she hands it to you, prints out kind of Mistress Griga's workshop, assistant Matilda, and then she says, just hand this to any hob in the local hedge, and, they will briefly fall under the mistress's control and lead you directly here.
Thank you.
I assure you it does not harm the local wildlife.
So the mermaid thing here, I mean, I'm assuming this happens often, right? Because the whole reason for
they've
their
been
singing
a
is
constant plague.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm sure that that's their natural thing is try to lure people into the depths and either kill them or drain them or whatever.
Oh, I'm quite certain they eat them.
Okay. So, I mean, the obvious choice would be to either relocate or have to slaughter all of them. Because, I mean, if you
Could
just
drive them
take
away
them
somehow. Make
Could
it
you just like ask them to
unpalatable.
leave? Yeah, just ask them to go.
I mean, if they're luring people in to be eaten, then they're probably not going to sit there and, happily go luckily say, oh, sure, you asked me to leave, I'll leave.
But it all depends how people actually listen to them and actually get eaten. That's the real question.
Well, I mean, if they weren't successful, they would have already run off by now, probably.
So there's something we'd taint the swamp with that maybe they're not keen on.
Ooh, poisoning. That was the first time Matilda said something that it was like, that's not quite right.
No, you want to live here and you don't want all the dead fish smell. You kind of want to drive them away. Kind of like mosquitoes. You don't kill them, you just drive them away.
Well, that is wise.
Rotting corpses are not a fun smell.
Yeah, and they invite other things that may be worse than the initial problem. So this token you're offering for our endorsement of your products is it's going to help us ignore the siren song or what?
It should silence any sort of sound-based assault on you. Basically, it makes you deaf briefly until you choose to hear again.
That could be applicable to other things even besides the siren.
It could indeed.
Indeedy.
As long as you're aware beforehand.
Or you can activate before it's too late. Well, I don't like giving a review without having tried the products first, but I don't know. It seems like there's an opportunity here for us to help you and maybe gain something out of it if we're willing. If we decide that we would want to help chase off or deal with these mermaids, it might gain us some store credit, as it were.
You'd have to speak with Mistress Griga about that, but that seems believable.
So about that hedge phone thing, how hard is that?
Oh, not very. I could upload it to your device for, say, 2 hedge fruits of any kind.
We got that.
Take that, please.
You're talking about the communication one beyond the hedge, yes? Which specific
Now, would
app?
that be the phantom phone booth, or just being able to talk between the hedge and the regular world? Because she mentioned both. The only real difference between those two is the phantom phone booth allows you to call out without being basically traced back to the source.
It would be basically just your cell phone working in the hedge.
Oh, okay. Being able to call out from the hedge or into the
but
hedge.
you can also call into it, right?
Yeah.
That's
And-
kind of neat.
Assuming
So both phones are in the hedge. Does it still work?
As long as both phones have the app.
So this
Let's
would
say
actually
the phone
be
gets dropped in the swamp. Is there any additional charges to get the app on a new phone that's replacing it?
Well, I'm sure that's a totally different deal.
So that's a yes on that.
Damn insurance plans.
Licensing plans.
Well, when you have a monopoly.
Yeah. All right, so it would definitely have to be between cell phones. So if there's only one phone that has it, then it's not really useful until another phone has it.
Oh, it's useful for calling out of the hedge.
Well, true.
I'll take that app, please.
Out of character, you have the goblin fruit to just hand over immediately.
Yep.
She'll accept it.
I mean, how many goblin fruit can we carry at a time?
Up to 7.
Quite a lot.
Nice.
And just remember, Christina, the merit you bought for goblin fruit a while back allows you to get 3 of them per session, so you're probably full up on them since you haven't been using them.
I mean, I didn't know I could get them every session, so I didn't know that.
Yeah. And because I
This
got the
covers
bought the
data, right?
workshop,
Oh, there's, yeah, it doesn't even track your data.
That's reassuring. I just wanted to know if it would go through, not if it was tracked.
Oh, so you're asking if you can, like, Google from the hedge?
Yeah.
We'll say sure.
I think Chris might come to regret that.
Googling? You really think that's going to be the line that I come to regret?
I mean, from the hedge, I mean, that's kind of one
I
thing.
don't want anybody
you know,
tracking my hob porn, okay?
Right? Hob porn. Hob hub.
Oh, Lord.
Hub.
Giving this lady ideas.
Can we find her again, by the way, now that we know she's here? Or where
She gave you another token that was a business card that if you hand it to a hobgoblin, it mind controls them and forces them to lead you to this place.
That's
Oh.
fantastic.
Like, that's actually the powerful one she gave you.
Yeah. That was just to be able to get back to spend more money. Thanks. I mean, I kind of look at the other ones and go, well, do we want to mess with this mermaid thing, or because I mean, we were in the middle of searching for someone already, but this is a detour. I mean, now since we got the card, we could always come back and deal with that later if we wanted to.
Do we know anything about these mer people?
Only what she tells us.
Could go have a conversation with them, and maybe they need help with something else too. But then again, I keep having the feeling every time we go to someone to get help, we have to go do something for somebody else.
It's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
It's constantly doing favors for everybody else.
Again, we've got the card. They're going to be in the situation for a while, so we could always come back and deal with that stuff later. We kind of have slightly more pressing.
Yeah, like go talk to the machine to help get our court set up. That's the main goal right now, right?
Yeah.
We can always research it and come back. Plus, Slender Man may not like to stick around for too long.
Why?
I'm perfectly happy to help our fellow Fae.
All right. I mean, we've got one of your products. Well, I mean, this deafness thing you're talking about, I mean, you're not going to have enough for all of us, are you?
Sure, why not? You're all a group. It doesn't take too long to make. I have to use them myself quite often, right?
Okay. And you said that the favor for that is just to spread the word of your shop.
Oh, yes. Mistress Griga loves good testimonial.
I look back at the other and go, I mean, I don't see a problem spreading the word of a device shop for free product.
I mean, I
I'm
agree.
fine. I'm pretty sure a lot of changelings would like this phone app.
I'm sure that like a lot of the apps she's been talking about.
When we say spread the word, we are solely here committing to mentioning it. Correct?
In a positive light.
All right.
And out of character, I'm assuming that apart from this one card that we have, we would be able to direct them put them in the direction of this shop if we give the good word.
Well, the mistress and I get around. I think that leaving it to them to find us is not going to be a problem.
For future reference, you may want to use a different phrase than that.
Oh, you're probably right.
I'll be out here calling people whores. Anyways, I mean, it sounds like we're agreed on that. We'll take these, I'm assuming they're going to be earplugs, and spread the word whenever it comes up in a positive light and direct people to your shop.
I have no problem spreading the word as long as you're not, taking souls, killing people, that kind of stuff, unwarranted.
Well, it's been many years.
Oh, Lord.
Hard habit to kick?
Probably have to warn them about the mermaid, so.
Yes, that's actually the more dangerous here.
Wait a minute, if we take care of the mermaid problem, wouldn't that make people have to come and go quicker instead of sticking around the shop?
No, that would make them actually want to show up instead of not braving the mermaids to get here.
Yeah, but if they're already here and they start singing, then they have to stay in shop for longer.
Maybe.
I suppose it's a bit of a trade-off, but it sure would make my life more convenient.
Maybe I'm just
shady
too
business
unethical to
practices.
do business.
Yeah, I'd say too shady business practices are not a great thing when people are trying to build up your reputation.
Did anyone else want to get the app, or just me?
I'm good for now.
I mean, I figure we test it out, see how good it works, and then probably come back and get some more later so that we can talk between
Indeed.
us if we get split up.
She
Have you
finishes.
thought about an app store that we could hand out or something?
She says, "Well, I've been working on it, but that seems like it'll take a bit." She's in the middle of just kind of rolling up this, what almost looks like a putty or something. And she says, "All right, these earplugs should be done. If you are looking for any kind of computational effort or tokens or apps, please think of me in the future." Yeah, the iGob fruit store.
It's not a bad name.
And she says, "With this, you should be all right. Tell me when you're ready for me to open the door, and I'll do so."
Don't you have to leave the earplugs in too?
Oh, I suppose I should. And then she puts the earplugs in.
Does she know sign language, and do we know
I mean, all you gotta do is give her a thumbs up, and she knows the yay or nay.
Yeah, she's just like looking at each of you.
Yeah, you don't have to give her a dissertation in sign language. I mean, I guess make sure that we all have the plugs in our ears, and once we do, give her the thumbs up.
And off to the trot we go.
Yeah, she'll open the door. And you're deaf, but you can continue along the trot if you like.
You probably should have got her contact information, because if she made the damn thing, she could probably, receive.
Wouldn't that be in the about of the app?
Maybe.
Hopefully.
Or maybe she's like, what's his name from Twitter? Or, sorry, from the original guy from MySpace, that no matter who you are, as soon as you join MySpace, you were automatically friended to him or something.
That sounds charming. That's what she did.
Okay.
So, to the Toymaker.
Well, to the market.
To find the
Onward, little
Toymaker.
piggies.
I mean, honestly, I think this is the place to come back to later. We take care of the mermaid problem, we get some free merchandise, and, we got a place to come to for equipment.
Indeed, and we can spread good word about our new making court, too, so it'll be great.
Sure.
All right. Well, we'll say that for the sake of time, you arrive in the Charleston Hedge, some familiar surroundings, and Avery can, without any issue, lead you all to the Goblin Market. You see Bartum kind of off a ways along the Strand, talking to, and in fact, screaming at some, like, much larger, almost ogre-like fishmonger. And Bartum's, like, picking up these, fish with way too many eyes and just, like, chucking them back into the ocean. And, like, these are endangered species. What do you think you're trying to pull here? And the ogre is looking all meek.
He's looking for some food.
So, are you going to just kind of ask around, ask Bartum again? What's the plan?
I mean, the easiest way without trying to incur someone's
Wrath.
payments. Well, not wrath. Fuck that. I'm just talking about not having to owe anybody anything. Is just go to the different shop stalls and see if there's any.
Browse around for toys.
Yeah, browse for some toys and look for the maker's mark.
All right. You do find that one of them seems to be, one of the little stalls seems to be a toy salesman. The salesman himself, in fact, is this marionette whose strings kind of like disappear into the ether, but seem to pull him around as he moves. And he says, "Hey, you lot. What are you looking for today? We've got puppets, we've got clockwork devices, we've got just knickknacks, dreidels, tops, some firework-based toys if you really want something with a kick. What are you looking for?" And you see that, as he described, he's got kind of these what look like maybe cap guns or even some Roman candles. He's got these like nutcracker-like devices, as well as more just kiddie puppets, like sock puppet style. There are some very well-made kind of marionettes Not all of the same style. 2 of them look like they might be by the same maker, but the others seem distinct. They're different enough that they don't look like they're from the same line at all. And then there's some ships in a bottle that are fully constructed, as well as some kits underneath there if you wanted to make your own. Something that looks like a Gundam model or something, with some that haven't been put together. And some just, standard old ragdoll type toys. And the dreidels and tops and things. Talkative bunch, aren't you?
This guy's creepy.
Well, yes, he's an animated puppet. Thank you. He says, "Well, are you shopping for a child? Shopping for yourselves? A nephew? Maybe I can point you in the... Do you even talk? Can you hear me? Do you have your earplugs still in? Or y'all?"
I
yeah,
took
those
those out. I assume we would have took those out before we got here. At least
Yeah,
I'm
right.
assuming. I don't really know.
No, I just taken mine out.
You look familiar, he says to you, Bobby. Do I know you? Do you know him?
Barely know me. What's this in reference to?
Barely know me.
Nothing. I mean, you probably don't know him.
No, who?
The puppet.
So now he's not talking?
Oh, sorry. What you asked him? What is this in reference to?
Yes.
Yeah, he just says, "I don't know. You just look familiar. Remind me of a plush bear I saw once." You know any plushies?
Those like furries.
Just one. Seen him recently?
No, it's been years.
How was he?
Not too many words. Not a really talkative guy. Nice enough though.
I hope he's doing well. Do you get anything by a toy maker called Robin or Robbie?
Remy.
Remy. Yeah, the
Remy.
right guy.
We do have something. Yes, one of these marionettes here was made by Remy. Let's see. Not these very nice ones. If you were looking for something very top of the line, collector's items, these two right here, Rosenfeld, these are the ones that you want. But if you're looking for Remy, he makes these great, mass production quality puppets like this. As you can see, it's got the standard toy soldier motif, very 1940s, with some better lubricated hinges than they made back in the day. Not the very high quality wooden ones with just really polished joint actions. These do have metal hinges, so they'll get squeaky if you don't use WD-40, if you really like to actually put on shows with them. But just for having something to practice with, there's nothing you can do better for the price. This is Remy, short of my maker. Remy's almost where it's at. Great price point. And you can see it's a toy soldier that when, if you picked it up, it would probably be about knee high. But of course, it is sitting down on his little table that he's got set out. It seems to be a two-hander marionette, with multiple controls. And he says, the thing is, it's not really a practice piece. It's it's got the full action of somebody who is practicing after already beginning their art. Are you guys puppeteers by chance?
Not even good with sock puppets.
Oh, well, I do have an entry level thing right here. It's very simple action to it, very well made. You can see it's almost like the Pollyanna style, very classic. And we've got some more sock puppet styles, Muppet styles even, for those of you who are looking for something a little different, a little more modern. Here, this one's kind of like a small, almost like a Snuffleupagus knockoff, right? We're not the Jim Henson Company over here.
Can they sue here?
No.
Whew. So what you're saying is I can get some knockoffs, bring them here, and sell them without any trouble.
Or vice versa. Although, you know.
That's more risky.
Yeah. You don't look like you're too averse to risk, though. Anyway, I saw you guys coming out here earlier, talking to the boss over there. You looking for somebody? You looking for information? Does this have something to do with a certain puppeteer? Or Toymaker?
Well, we're looking for him.
You're looking for
There's some
Remy.
questions.
Oh, well, you know, instead of buying a toy, although I do recommend them, I could, for a different price, just lead you to Remy. I know where his atelier is, as they say.
Would they have a dictionary?
Atelier, studio.
Oh. Apartment, huh?
I mean, no, it's a full house, but he works in it. His workshop. He's deep in the old brambles.
Is that another word for thorns?
It is indeed, my friend with the vocabulary challenges.
What price we looking at?
Well, let's see. What are your businesses? What do you usually trade here at the goblin markets? You smell like changelings. Is that right?
Yep.
So good access to glamour, understanding of the ways of fairy. What kind of toys are they making these days on your side? Do you have any new ones? Any games?
I'm sure we could find some. When is the last time you got anything new from the other side?
It's been about 3 years now. Last time, I mean, the last guy to come in here was trading a whole lot of games that spawned after, what was the name of the one that he said split up into Catan. Trading a whole bunch of Catan wannabes and Catan knockoffs. Apparently it was all the rage. I think those were mostly made 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. But now, surely there's on to new things. Even when he came here, he was selling me stuff saying that this wasn't the most recent, that the most recent goods were onto some other new... I think that he said deck builders were big. Is a deck builder a kind of game that you've heard of? Is this something that actually took off?
Sounds like a card game.
Yeah. Card game, like... Well, I'm blanking on what the name of the big one was at the time. Dominion, I think is what it was. Something like that. If you bring me some deck builders, different kinds, not all from the same company, maybe 3, then I can lead you to Remy.
Lead us safely to Remy?
Good catch. Sure. He has a shit-eating grin at this point. He wasn't gonna lead you safely, but now that you said it, that's part of the deal.
It's like, gotcha.
So the top 10 are Dominion, Lost Ruins of Arnok, Port, Clank in Space, Thunderstone Quest, Paperback, The Taverns of Infenthal, Dune Imperium, Undaunted North Africa, and Great Western Trail. And you're looking at anything from $40 to $100 depending on the game.
Oof.
I usually use the 5-finger discount.
There's that.
Bobby is a good thief. We haven't seen it in action yet, but that is what he's built to do.
I mean, have Bobby just go stealth, boop, and then get the fuck out of there. It'd be great. With sound effects, because, you know, you got to do the like tinkling on your toes.
Tinkling on your toes. Oh my goodness.
Or not tinkling, but like
Twinkle toes?
Yeah, I'm thinking of twinkle toes.
ED treatment there.
Tinkling on your toes is, that means you got some problems.
I meant like, you know, the diddly, you know, because, you know, your feet are all like, you know, you're trying to be stealthy.
It's called Twinkle Toes. Yeah, because if you're tinkling on your toes, that means you're trying to get rid of some athlete's foot. All right, so we have a guide to the person we want to see that's going to help, hopefully, get us to the place we want to go. So, I mean, hell, Bobby could order the damn things right now on Amazon because he's got access to the internet
data
now.
In the hedge. Broken.
Well, we need
So
to.
whose credit card am I using?
Not using mine right now. I don't trust credit cards. But the next thing we need to tell that chick is to set up a next day service set up with the messenger moles.
Ooh. Integrating the messenger moles into the iGoblin Fruit app.
Uh-huh.
That'd be cool.
Amazon Hedge. Hedge is on.
Well, it's not too difficult to order it, but it doesn't seem like he's going to lead you until he's got the games. Well, no, that's not true. You could make a swear that, you know, lest the Fae find you, you'll bring it back to him.
So out of curiosity, if we die before we can honor that, does that have any effects?
You want to find out?
No,
No, absolutely not.
that's why I'm asking.
You have no idea.
I'm sure the hedge would hold your next of kin and or next available reasonable person
Or your
accountable.
ghost.
Yeah, that too. Become a hedge ghost. Oh no.
All right. So will you make an oath lest the Fae find you?
Sure.
I mean, if he's already ordered them, might as well. We'll just have to make sure that we bring them to this place when we get them.
In a week. A week's time.
You want to be careful with that because the place we're ordering them from, I mean, usually it's
Yeah,
next
it might be
day or
longer.
next business day, but sometimes they get pushed back. So
Well,
put a
do you
clause in
want
for
to
that.
tell them that it's going to be a different timeline then?
Oh no, I know exactly what I'm telling them. Like, the place we're getting them from is usually next business day, but there's always situations where it could pass, out of stock or something like that. So I'm gonna probably need a little more than a week. But as soon as we get it, we can bring it here.
Can't be as soon as you get it. Got to have a time limit.
Say 2 weeks then, just to make sure, or at least 10 days.
How
It's
about the
minimum
next full
Amazon-
moon and new moon?
Because Amazon always gets it within 10 days, almost always.
So
Do they have to
That
occur at the
sounds
same time?
doable.
yeah,
Next full moon and new moon is at least 2 weeks.
yep. If nothing else, we could find a local shop and get some for you.
Right. Okay. Well then, let me close up shop and get out of here. And he starts putting away these toys into what's basically a bag of holding.
Nice.
And he says, anything else you want from here, by the way? Prices are more material for some of these things. The explosives are just explosives. Just
Selling
firecrackers.
explosives?
Yeah, sure. Roman
Oh,
candles,
Lord.
firecrackers.
I mean, they're not frag grenades or anything, but
No,
They can
no,
be turned into them.
toys.
I see him air quoting when he says toys there. I'm just
If you say
saying.
so. He's putting away stuff. All his hands are busy. By the way, he has 4 hands. I'm going to say it now. He's a marionette. He can have as many limbs as he needs.
How many feet?
2.
Does he actually walk on them?
It bounces. They touch the
Like
ground
America.
regularly.
like Team America World Police.
Yes, like Team America World Police. All right. He bounces along, and you guys follow him, and you go into the hedge, or into the brush, basically.
Do the thorns have a chance of cutting his strings? I'm just curious.
They get caught a couple times, and he has to kind of untangle himself. But he leads you through, and because you're following him, we'll say there's not really much risk to you, or to your compatriots that are following along, the midnight courtiers. Parissa comes and joins you. And you eventually arrive at a workshop. The door is open. It's a small kind of wooden cottage. The puppet says, "This is your guy Remy's toy shop. He mostly does carved goods, many kinds of puppets, some puzzle boxes. Here, let me introduce you." And he goes there and he says, "Hey, Remy, it's me." And a voice says, Who is there calling at me?" And kind of out walks this dwarf-looking guy. Let's see, where's my picture of him? Ah. He's got kind of this interesting tattoo on his scalp and glasses on.
He's not Santa Claus, is he? I'm just.
He's very small to be Santa Claus, who's usually this like big guy. He's kind of dwarf or even gnome height, and he was in the middle of carving this interesting kind of fox sculpture, and he says, "Gerald, what are you? Oh, visitors. Welcome to my abode, then. By all means, come. And the marionette just basically like taps on the door and says, "I'll be back to buy something before too long. Singity song." And he taps the door a couple times and then turns away and hops into the brambles again. And hedges on. The Toymaker goes back and he sits down on his chair and he like unrolls this like incredibly complex blueprint and says, "So, what can I do for you?" Are you here to order a toy?
We're here to ask him about the machine out of character, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Here to discuss trends in toys and games, perhaps. Here to ask for a favor, to deliver a favor owed.
Well, we had heard that you would be a person to talk to regarding something called the transmuter.
The transmuter. The machine. Yes. I am a sort to a degree its keeper. I have the key to the bastion in which it lies. A dangerous device, this. Complex. Older than imagination itself. Astrological and mystical and spiritual, all at the same time. What would you changelings wish with this?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say I would turn to Chamberlain and Butler and basically say, well, these folks would like to speak to the machine, entreat with it possibly, and then just kind of, give them the floor. I don't expect you to do, talking back and forth between NPCs, but...
And Chris does it all the time. He's used to it.
You wish to speak with the machine? I've not met someone wish to speak with it since, a true member of the gentry spoke with it many lifetimes ago. Spoke is maybe not the correct word. So what do you wish from it? Do you wish to use it to see the future, to see the past, to see yourself in your truest form? You wish to play with it like a child plays with my toys?
More like we're wanting to set up a contract with it. Possibly.
He kind of pulls out a small block of wood and picks up a whittling knife and starts working on it. He says, "A contract with the machine. It is capable of such things, yes? Even partially made of iron, it is capable of such things. Some pieces of the machine will obey you, others will not. It is the nature of it. You may not like what you see, if you see with it. You may not like what you hear, if you hear with it. But that is not my concern. What my concern is what you will do with it. What harm you could bring upon the hedge and upon the world that you belong to now and that I did once. You wish a contract. What will you do with this contract?"
Out of character. Not a fucking thing, because it's not my court.
Yeah, I mean, out of character, do we even know what powers they're going to want for the Midnight Court? Do we even know?
I mean, I'm assuming if it's not just one of the actual winter court contracts, it's something like a being able to read into someone's emotions, or because I think that the first thing that we thought that was told to us when we first heard about it was being able to convert emotions in someone to a different emotion so that you can harvest it more readily, or it fits better, or something like that. That they basically rationalize themselves out of that emotion into another one.
Chamberlain will kind of say, "Master, we simply wish to speak with it about a very straightforward emotional manipulation contract." And he says, "This is something that has been solved by changelings many times with contracts with the seasons. Why do you wish to contract with this machine, though?" He says, "With the loss of Mr. Dunlap, we are left," and then interrupting, Remy says, "Dunlap, yes. He was a risk taker. I think that you would be better off leaving that risk at home. But it's not for me to decide." Do you want tea or something? I should be more hospitable. No? Fine. He kind of throws himself up, makes this, like, not throws up, but, throws himself out of his chair onto his feet, makes this big grunt, and he's kind of waddles over towards his fireplace where he's got a small kettle kind of dangling from a rod, and he says, "It is within my rights to ask for a favor in return for me offering you the key. This is within my rights as Fae. What favor will you owe?"
I'm sorry, I'm heating up food, so I'm away from my desk. But I mean, just out of character, it's not our court, so this has between them. They're the ones that have to make the contract.
Well, he's the one that
Court.
has to do the contract with. They're the ones that have to do the contract with the machine, not necessarily with Remy.
I mean, just ask him what kind of favor he wants.
I want something that proves that you are wise and beneficent. I want something that will ease my conscience about giving you this. Because I am concerned to hand such power over to someone whom I have never heard of. Someone trying to replace another figure who I found to be unwise. Someone trying to live up to that dream instead of their own.
Well, I mean, already we're doing things differently. We've already got one of our courts set up. We have inroads to set up other ones along with the one that this one will be helping to set up. So already right there, we're doing things differently because we don't believe that one person should be overly powerful or in charge of everything or responsible for everything.
You are setting up courts, but you refuse to use the court systems that have been in place elsewhere for generations?
I mean, not like anything forces us to use the same systems. Every region has a different understanding and different want to do those things, and we chose this one. Not dissimilar, it's just slightly different.
So let's change from favors then. Would you make oaths? Oaths to not use the machine? You may treat with it, as you may treat with anything. But an oath to not use it, to not activate the device, would go a long way to ease my worries.
Well, I mean, it's all nice to make an oath, but if the time comes where something is needed and then we're bound by that oath not to do it, then, I mean, I guess we'd have to risk oath breaking or whatever, but I don't like such open-ended oaths like that. It needs to be a little more specific.
And I don't like the idea of this device being anything other than imprisoned for all eternity.
That's very unfair-like.
Is it? Maybe it's my human side.
I mean, I get that maybe this is something that's powerful and in and of itself is neither evil nor good, but can cause great evil or great good, depending on who uses it.
That's just about anything, though.
Yeah, but some things more than others. I mean, so we need more. There's going to need to be some more specifics to that stuff. I mean, if we could put in like some kind of caveat where, you know, unless it means the destruction of the Fae as we know it or some stuff, or, you know, if agreed upon by all four courts or, you know, that kind of thing, you know, put caveats in there where things can be used if necessary, but it requires
Caveats
quite
are
a lot
another
of...
word for loopholes.
Yeah, they do it all the time. We live off loopholes in contracts.
Of course.
What exactly are you?
Specificity.
What exactly are you afraid or worried or concerned that the machine might do if activated, or what will it do if activated, or let out, or otherwise, you know, whatever?
I am but a warden. I do not know all of the things the machine is capable of, but it is capable of some things which I believe are anathema to the world in which I believe. For example, allowing one to... He kind of looks at all of you like he's anxious even saying this, but then he says, look through the eyes of any living human and make their decisions for them. This is but one of the abilities of the machine when calibrated to certain celestial alignments. And already it is enough that no man should have such power. So I make toys to live the life of a child, to encourage the life of a child, the innocence thereof. Because no man should. And then he trails off. Such dangerous things must not be made available to those of weak heart and weak soul.
Well, direct control over someone else's will, I mean, it's not something we like, being loving our freedom and all that. So, first off, I will say that I think we'd all be willing here to be oath bound to not tell anyone else that information, not from our lips anyways. And while seeing through humans' eyes would be awesome, the controlling part I'm not a fan of myself. I'm sure we could craft some kind of oath to safeguard at least us from using that information, and if we partner that with basically a non-disclosure agreement about what you just told us, at least it would keep the machine, or at least keep this part of it safe from others from our end anyways.
Having mind control is not something any one of us are going to be okay with.
Butler's currently in the middle of losing his chill.
Well, it's hard for him to lose his chill, but yeah, he's anxious about it.
Well, it's like a pothead when you start discussing, dangerous things.
Right, exactly.
7-Eleven closing.
Yeah. Taco Bell shut down. So I'll look at the group and go, does what I just said sound reasonable to us, that we can craft some kind of I guess assurance against using this thing while still making sure that we don't get cornered by other things, in other words, not being able to use other parts in order to appease this guy so he'll lead us to the machine to entreat with it?
We got to figure out something, because just the blatant oath he said would prevent us from doing what we went there to start with.
Yep.
Well, not exactly. He's specifically stating a function of the machine that he doesn't want us to use.
No, he said don't use it at all.
He said don't use it at all.
However, not Clarence, but Jeremy Chamberlain will say, We wish to commune with the machine, not to use it. To forge a contract should not be impossible, even without activating the device. I don't believe that what we are here to do would violate the spirit of an oath, to not use the machine at all. That said, I would lie if I claimed to not be curious.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hearing what it can do. That's a very tempting power. And again, like I said, it's kind of a twofold thing, and I kind of like the idea of the first part of it, but not so much a fan of the second part of it. But I mean, if no one's got any problems, then we can, like I said, we can work on specifying that oath so that that function is not available to us, or we will not use it of our own free will, as long as we're able to make the decision.
I'm curious if we take an oath to do this, it will be like underneath a yes, right?
Not exactly.
So people can still get the information out of us if they kind of mind control us, right?
I mean, it depends. I mean, if it's based on us giving the information, that's what I'm saying. We definitely need to word this to where it's us freely giving the information, and not
Or willingly.
in the spirit of cooperation type of thing. Because go ahead.
Yeah, Chamberlain's going to say, what about a proposed Hammurabi's Code? Whatever we use the machine for, the weird may visit upon us as well. If we use it to scry, the weird may scry through our eyes. If we use it to influence, the weird may influence us. If we use it to strike down our enemies, the weird may strike us down in turn.
So that way we could actually weigh the pros and cons of it if it ever comes up that it's needed.
Indeed. While hopefully showing our careful consideration to such things.
I'll look at the Toymaker and go, does that sound agreeable to you?
He says, I would need you to phrase that in a very exacting way and then consider it.
Well, we're all contract makers here, so I mean, I guess I'll start ask for some pen and paper and start jotting down the points of the thing based off of what Chamberlain said. Again, of course, making sure that we note in there that basically pretty much a clause against someone using us against our will, not trying to give us a way to use it without getting fucked, just so that we don't get fucked by somebody else using it apart from us or against our will. So a lot of wording to state that we will adhere to the spirit of this contract, and that we would not willfully go against the contract, willfully give information about this this machine, this device, whatever it is. And then again, like I said, back to what Chamberlain was saying, anything that we do, any of this feature that you're concerned with, if we do use it of our own free will and knowledgeably, that it can then be, the weird can then use it upon us. Yeah. But again, making sure to add in the whole of our free will,
Well,
spirit of the contract.
he will deny, and he'll ask you to strike through anything that clarifies of your own free will. If it happens at
No,
all.
I can't agree to that. Because if something more powerful comes through, finds out about it a different way, and then comes and uses us because we have an avenue to it, I mean, we have to guard it as much as possible, but we can only do so much. And if they take control of us, then, I mean, I can't be dealing with the aftermath and then also being, punished for something that was not my fault in the first place.
He says, then clear your own mind of it. Find some other solution. But I will not lead you if you have such an obvious loophole. All it would take is your friend using you to be the perfect loophole. Take a friend that is not party to the contract. Allow them to control your mind briefly.
Well, here's where you're mistaken on that, because this group right here is the only one that knows of it at this time. With the non-disclosure, with the terms that I've sent on there, they could not do that of their own free will. And it'd be the same thing as if someone outside of this group taking control of us and doing that. So it's not technically a loophole on our end. It's simply a failsafe.
This is not protective enough for my likings.
To get over that, because we're not going to sign anything that says of our own free will.
Well, he doesn't have to show you where the machine is. You can go back and find them off. Go ahead.
Can our two... So, what if we don't all agree to this, but you only inform or lead some of us? Say, for example, our two compatriots here, who are actually going to be doing the contract making, the speaking with, if you lead them and we swear not to follow, and you have them swear that they will not at all use the machine, Hammurabi's code style, is that acceptable?
So some of you are braver than others, is what I'm hearing.
No, some of us are stupider than others, and more willing to enter into oaths that are indefensible to us.
Chamberlain says, well, here I was going to, but now that I've been called stupid for doing so.
No, I think there's some frustration going on here, but I wouldn't call anyone stupid for this. It's just that we need to... I understand that there is a need to protect this. I understand that you think this thing is powerful enough to warrant this situation. But we also need ways to deal with this. So since this would be the majority, if not the entirety of the court leadership, we cannot all enter into that contract, because if something were to happen, we need those who would be able to assist with the cleanup without being hindered by a fallout. So since this contract and this agreement would be the beneficiaries would be the Midnight Court. If the two, or the one leader or his advisor or both, decided they would agree to this, then they could be held to the contract proper, and then we, the rest of us, could form a non-disclosure, and that way, if something happens, it's only to that person, because they're technically, they would be the only ones allowed to deal with that entity anyways, because we would have no purpose in that. So that way, if something happens to them, we could then assist them in both cleanup and restitution. and then we reduce the fallout, as it were. And then I'll look at Chamberlain's like, but if we do decide to go this route, I would push to get as much as you can from that machine, because this seems like a very tight connection that's going to be formed here. If you're going to allow the weird to, act upon you, even if it's not your free will.
Unless somebody else wants to add something else and take the lead in this role, why don't you make a manipulation persuasion roll?
That would be a chance die.
Oof. Well, if somebody else wants to try to take the lead, they can, but I would say add 2, because he's at least somewhat of a mind to do it.
So, be 2 dice. Manipulation. So, sheet roll. Manipulation plus persuasion plus 2 dice. I'm going to drop a will.
Smart.
I mean, just so you know, too, we still have the moth as well. Just throwing it out there.
It's an option, but it seems to be that everything we come across is telling us to wait on that one for now, because there's probably something bigger with that. All right,
Come on, use your hairdryer in the shower. It can't hurt.
Right. Woo!
All right. Chamberlain says, Mr. Butler, might we speak outside for a moment? The two of us. If that doesn't offend the rest of you. And he's looking at all of you guys.
Not at all. It's your court.
Yeah, not hurting my feelings.
And they go outside for a bit. In the meantime, the Toymaker says, well, I do like the idea of bringing fewer of you, but since you went out of your way to come out here, what year is it on the other side?
2023, I believe, out of character, Chris, since we're doing present time.
Yeah. He says, oh, time flies. I was born in 1911. Seems not too long ago.
Well, when you live a long time, time seems to matter less.
I hate that that's become true, but yes. Is there anything that you see that you'd like? Or like to ask about? And we'll just say everything on the map there is what you see.
I'm assuming a lot of these things are simple toys like they look, and then others are more so.
Yes, some of these are puzzle boxes, like over here on the table. Simple pinwheels. Many of them are tokens of some kind. Mostly simple enchantments meant to bring joy to people. Or amusement.
What about the piece you're currently making right now? I'm pointing at the fox.
Well, before too long it should be able to move on its own. It's meant to be a companion, my last companion. Well, I've made a few of them over the years, and sometimes things happen, as you know. We all lose our pets and our friends. This is my next one, or will be my next one. I did not make the puppet that led you here, but a colleague of mine did. I have never had the stomach to make something so humanoid, so much like a true child.
Would that be Rosenfeld?
The elder. Yes, the elder. The younger only makes the dolls, but they are remarkable pieces, very powerful tokens, very beautiful dolls. I have quite a bit of admiration for Rosenfeld's daughter. She's very capable. Rosenfeld himself, he frightens me.
I mean, that puppet was already pretty creepy.
I agree.
Maybe it's just because it's too human-like. I don't know.
Or not human-like enough. One of those, maybe.
Uncanny Valley?
I've heard this phrase before, yes. At this point, Chamberlain and Butler come back in, and Chamberlain says, I will... Although I am upset by the implications of the... what's the word I'm looking for? The precedent that it sets. I will make this oath with you. And the Toymaker says, very good. We can make it outside and I'll lead you directly.
I'll look at the rest of the group and go, those of us not going into this part of it, I still think it would be a show of good faith if we make an oath not to divulge of this information of our own free will. Just so you have another layer of, hopefully, security so that they can't find it as easily.
Better not.
While I appreciate this, it is... I mean, the machine is already rumored about by goblins. So, I do not think that your rumors of what you know so far, connecting it to me, will make much of a difference. But it will help me view you in a more helpful light, perhaps.
I mean, I don't know about the rest of you guys. I definitely don't want anybody else to find out this thing can mind control people.
Well, I think a simple keep it secret, keep it safe oath would be okay. Like I said, as long as we got the whole thing in there that I'm not responsible for people taking over my body and forcing things out of me. At least not responsible to the point of getting my entire life fucked over because of it. I mean, out of character to me, an oath like that is something you take for something. I mean, for actually having access to that power, as opposed to, just having kind of a side thing to it. Because unless he's going in there getting the contract of, yes, I can use the Batman cell phone radar system through your machine here at will. And yes, then I will take that oath that no matter what, I am responsible for what happens here. Maybe then, but for a side contract thing, I'm like, hey man, you're the one who told me that shit. Now you're trying to force that onto me. It's like somebody walking up to you saying, oh, by the way, I married the chief of the mobsters, but don't tell anybody. Like, I didn't ask.
At some point, after a few minutes, Remy comes back in to speak with you guys and says, would you mind watching the cabin until we return?
Sure, I'll keep the fox company.
Thank you.
Yep. Burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it, burn it.
Holy shit. Way to not be a Hobkin.
Right?
Hey, I only agreed to keep the fox company. I could walk away with the fox,
Holy shit. That's all I gotta say.
We express evil thoughts so that we do not give action to them.
All right. Y'all just gonna wait around, or playing with his tokens is priority one?
I mean, check things out, see if there's anything that looks interesting. Puzzle boxes are always cool until you summon Hellspawn, and then then it's all downhill from there.
Then Cinnabots are stalking you constantly.
Yeah. And there's only like one hot one, so it's like, okay, sheesh. Even then, kind of scary.
I do like the idea of the wolf companion. That thing's kind of awesome.
It sounds like he's making that for himself, though.
Oh no! I know that, but I'm just saying I give him kudos for he's making his own companion. That's kind of cool.
Madison's over
As
here.
opposed to Build-A-Bear?
No, honestly, I would rather have an actual wolf, not an actual piece of wood. No.
So it's like, Madison's like, I don't build my companions. God makes them, and then I go grab them and kidnap them.
And assimilate them. That's what happens.
Exactly. But yeah, just mess around, look at things going on here. I don't know if there's. I'd have to either do a whole bunch of rolls for keening or talk to this guy, have this guy here telling me what's what, because you might see like the dollhouse, for instance, like, ooh, my niece might like that, except for it steals your soul and puts you in the dollhouse and forces you to act out a scene or something like that.
Bobby, there's a lot of blueprints.
Bird ass and blueprints all over this dadgum room.
Yeah, there's blueprints in a lot of different places. Some of them are kind of displayed, like they may have been for older pieces. Like there's one for a very lovely doll that is definitely better than the kinds that the guy was saying Remy's usually associated with. Like this might have been a masterpiece or something like that, like in the true guild sense of like what you submit to try to get into a guild. There's are some blueprints that are less prominently displayed on tables and things like that seem to go for dollhouses, train sets, some kind of small miniature carriage with all kinds of moving parts that it could be a wind-up piece and then would drive off on its own. Puzzle boxes, some of which you see around and others you don't see.
I got a feeling this picture came from one of those found item games.
I have no idea. I just found it on the Googles.
Because it seems to me like it's got all the mixtures of it where you got hidden pieces everywhere that you pick out of there, and then like the door has exact patterns, except for this one has a stick through it or something like that. It's
Yeah,
got
sure.
things to click on.
I can see it. I mean, is there anything in particular you're looking for? Are y'all trying to find the ones that are tokens with a kenning roll or something?
Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a decent sized toy Zeppelin that when you activate it, either it grows into a full size Zeppelin or it shrinks us down to be able to use it like a real Zeppelin, only smaller.
Okay, so you're wanting a flying machine.
I mean, I don't really need it. I just thought that would be a cool idea.
Well,
Remember, Chris, you asked.
okay.
We technically have a flying machine called Parissa right here, so.
Yeah, I was about to say roll a roll 1d10. If it's a success, then maybe you'll find something.
Uno D10. Nope.
I mean, I didn't see it.
It's 2 successes, not just 1 success.
Oh, well, hot shit.
Well, yeah. So as you're looking around at some blueprints,
You rode 2 10s. What the fuck?
you see that this.
Or 10 and an 8.
Yeah, because the 10 exploded. You see that this like songbird is like bending over the edge of the thing and looking at you, and it tilts its head as you look back up at it.
Okay. I'm assuming this is going to be more in the line of something cool, but not exactly what I was asking for before. Or ask.
I mean, there ain't no Zeppelin. There's a bird that's now looking at you, though, and it, like, hops down, and it lands on your shoulder, and if you weren't the strongest motherfucker you know, it would have just plonked you straight down into the ground. This thing is made out of some kind of ultra-heavy stone, and it, like, dropped down on you, and it felt like it was about to break your collarbone when it lands on you.
Okay.
And then it jumps down off of you onto the ground, and it kind of does crack
With
the
a
floor.
thud.
Yeah, it cracks the floor. It kind of runs outside, and then it turns into a giant stone bird that kind of starts roosting in the lawn. It's, you know, about as big as Parissa, except it's a stone bird.
And remind me again, tokens have masks in the real world?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna steal it though. Technically, it's not yours just yet. You gotta ask him for it.
I gotta buy it, I know, but I'm just wondering if it's worth really getting into buying it, because I mean it would be a second mode of transportation for us, and hopefully it doesn't have normal animal instincts, so it doesn't try to, you know, purr up next to a fucking tractor when it's looking like a Range Rover. So, and I wouldn't have to, you know, continuously throw glamour into it so it could live out in the real world. Yeah, or it's just a big bomb or some kind of kaiju or something.
Goes out
Or
the real
both.
world and starts screaming and eating people. That would be
I
fantastic.
mean, it hops around and it like leaves little craters when it does, right?
Because it's fucking heavy, that's why.
Yeah, and it's ultra strong, I guess.
So, Chris, just curious, because I am very curious about this. What Princess sees this bird move around? What is he doing? Is he like, man? Is he like, what the fuck is this?
He's like backed up a little bit and like hackles down. He looks upset. He's like backing away from it, but then the bird just kind of like looks in his direction and squawks this little chirp. It's got a high-pitched voice for how big it is. And then Parissa kind of moves forward and brushes his snout against the bird, and the bird doesn't attack it, and then Parissa lays down next to the bird.
Okay, so he was looking at it like it was not normal, and then when he realized it was somewhat normal, he's done. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
just by virtue, if this thing's able to actually fly, and it's made out of this heavy stone, then it technically is a bunker buster. I mean, because it's just going to slam into whatever you fly it into.
Oh yeah.
That's still hilarious.
You know what?
It really is.
Just because I'm having fun, you see it after Parissa sits next to it. It starts to get a little uncomfortable, and it decides it wants to eat something. And this is the way that it eats. It flies up in the air, and then it just lets itself drop onto a tree, and it smashes it into splinters.
Oh
And then starts
my goodness.
picking at the leavings of the tree.
I mean, if that's not an ogre familiar, I don't know what is.
I mean, it does kind of have ogre written all over it.
Well, Angry Birds, yeah.
Does it explode when it lands?
No, everything else explodes when it lands.
I
Yeah, I
must
must
say,
say, it does knock the pig's house down, though.
you're
Yes.
definitely going to have to see what its mask is, though, out in the world.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking bird. I don't know what you're talking about. It looks pretty realistic, except it's, got the texture of stone.
It turns into a fucking shoulder-mounted RPG.
Oh, God.
Well, as you're kind of watching the bird eating the remains of this shattered tree, you see the dwarf and Chamberlain come back out of the woods, and Chamberlain looks, his suit looks darker than usual, and like with the Slender Man, like blackness aura behind him, he's got
So he
that
could-
now.
So we technically see we see mantle on him, is pretty much what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying he seems to be bemantled with the midnight mantle.
Midnight, yeah.
Yeah.
Slender Man is the king of midnight. Oh, great.
Look, y'all chose him.
He's the perfect candidate, though.
Yeah.
He's a pretty chill guy. And he
It'd just
says,
there'd be a lot more nightmares happening to children in the area from now on.
yeah, right. He says, after seeing this machine, I can say I agree with Master Remy more than I had expected to.
Oh, good.
I pat him on the shoulder and say, better you than me, my friend. I'm glad you got your mantle.
Well, I'm not sure how much I am thrilled to have the mantle as I am pleased that your freehold, our freehold, can continue apace. If this is the sacrifice I must make, then I will do so.
Well, don't forget, we will back you up on everything that needs to happen, so...
What is this bird?
I start laughing and I point at the dwarf. I go, I got no idea. Enoch found it.
I don't know, I just kind of made friends. He's a big son bitch.
Yeah. The the dwarf Remy just starts like kind of slightly cussing at it, not like real angry, but just like you could tell there's bitterness in the voice, but he's like speaking some Scandinavian or Slavic language maybe.
Does the bird understand him?
And the bird like suddenly kicks up and like starts shrinking and running around, which leaves these giant potholes in the lawn as it does, but it shrinks down to its tiny size, and it makes like 2 full laps around the house trying to run away from the dwarf chasing it, leaving little potholes every time it hops, and then it goes back into the house and then hops up onto the shelf again, which somehow doesn't collapse. It's magic. And Remy says, I apologize for this. It's that is a spirited one, and I keep it around for entertainment sometimes. As you can see, he has a good personality. A bit too much spirit, maybe.
So is that thing a? I don't want to know if I call it a familiar as opposed to a device. I mean, is it something imbued with some type of intelligence, or is it just a device?
I remember the days when I made a distinction, but I cannot so much anymore.
Sure you didn't carve a bird and paid too much attention to it?
I very well may have.
As most things made by the Fae, I'm assuming it has a mask in the real world, or in the normal world, I could say.
Yes, it is a token, so it appears as a bird, not as a real one, as a stone bird. Much as
So
it looks.
basically, what it
Yes.
now. I mean, I saw it fly and I saw it dive bomb. It does those things. I'm assuming that it can. I mean, again, I understand that there's a distinction of, living and life, I guess you could say, because most things we would have to invest into it to make it work. Does this thing go off and do things by itself? I mean, does it require you to know how to activate it? What's going on?
Lisi is practically a hobgoblin at this point.
Well?
If you wish to speak with her, if that is within your means to speak with the animal-like hops, then by all means, she's free to go where she wishes.
Unfortunately, I don't have that feature. I mean, if she wants to come to my farm, she's welcome.
This seems like the kind of thing that, out of character, that Madison would be able to do, but...
Well, technically she can't talk to them, but she can do the...
I can read body language.
Yeah,
That's
you can
literally all I do with
communicate,
animals,
though. Yeah.
But yeah, I can. Dr. Parissa, it's not me talking. It's me and Parissa have been around so long that she understands my body language. He understands my body language. Sorry, not she.
I mean, shit. Then I'll look at Madison and go. Whatever way we can convey to this bird to as you said, Larissa.
Lisi.
Lisi. I mean, I think she'd be perfectly happy out where there's a lot of open land and stuff, and she can play around and maybe even set her apart as a guard for my acreage.
Chris, guard pigeon.
Look, y'all were like, yeah, let's play Changeling again. Then you get the guard pigeon.
But she's a cool stone guard pigeon, though. She's cool.
Look, instead of the pigeon shitting on the statue, now it's the pigeon statue that's going to shit on you.
I mean, if he wants me to go try to communicate with Lisi, I will go in there and try to communicate with her and see if she would like to go somewhere else. Just let me know if I got to roll anything.
Sure. How about I think presence animal ken, maybe?
And this is with just communication, or is this anything to do with like charming the animal at all?
It's up to you if you want it to be.
Attracting the animal, you mean?
That's
Sure, add your mantle.
I don't even know how. I guess how do you even click on mantle? I don't even know what I do.
Yeah, you would. You
Add
just
this.
add your 1.
Just add dice, yeah.
Okay, and because it's animal kin, I also get another +1 because it's part of my profession, and I get 9 again on the roll of will. Just throwing that out there.
Does it give you plus? I would assume you put that into your skill, an additional dot in the skill.
She's talking about her specialization.
The specialization.
Oh, the specialization. Okay, so this is going to be approximately 7 million dice, is what I'm hearing.
No, just like around 12.
Do you get exceptional on 3 at your current?
No,
rating?
I don't have that one yet. That's the
Okay.
next dot, or the next 2 dots. I'm trying to get it to a 5 ASAP.
Okay.
I saved all my XP so I could get the damn mantle first. I still only got 1 success. Holy
Rip.
shit!
All them 3s.
A lot of 3s. Look at all those fucking 3s.
Well, it's still 1 success. You're able to communicate what you want to say, which is what you're asking her if she's happy here.
I'm asking her if she's happy here or if she'd like to go somewhere else.
She says, or basically replies back, yes, I love the dwarf, or dwarf man. That's what she calls him, dwarf man, in your mind. Dwarf man is very charming and has many trees to smash. Dwarf man also likes smashing trees. That's why he's making Foxman from Smash Tree. We smash trees together, and we sometimes even smash Rude Hob.
Oh, so out of character, she can be a guardian. That's good to know.
And she says, I would like to see where Dwarf Man came from for a while and come back, though. And you all smell like the part of Dwarf Man that I've never been able to figure out. You gather she's probably like thinking about the real world.
Yeah, she wants to she wants to vacation, pretty much is what she's saying.
Well, wants to go see what human existence is, and smash trees and hobs.
We need a bath? What?
People talking about y'all smell.
Oh. I mean, I will communicate to her and let her know about the real world, where Enoch lives, and say, because I mean, I've been to his farm or his house and his acres of land out there, which is huge, of many, many trees there, that she could go and explore and see the real world, and she's welcome there anytime she wants.
She says, I would only go if I could always come back to Dwarf Man.
Out of character, how do we do that?
Well, it's just whenever she wants to come back, we would help her, use one of the Fey gates or the hedge gates and just, let her come back, basically. I mean, Hobbs can use hedge gates, can't they?
I think that portaling might be a changeling specific thing. Maybe not. It seems like they would be able to.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back outside and make sure I'm in, where the dwarf is, and tell Enoch what Lisi says, and say that she'll only come visit if she can come back and visit the dwarf. So we would have to be okay with him letting her come back.
Yeah, a simple friendship is fine. No problem. Not trying to, imprison her or enslave her or anything like that, so...
Lisi hops back down again, then shaking the earth, and then kind of runs outside, and she starts like hopping like she wants to leave and get going, and then she starts swelling up real big to the big size, and then just starts running through the thorns, and they all just kind of go away in front of her. She's very useful for this. Giant stone pigeon. What in the world? What is
That's
my
what you get with your 2
imagination?
successes
I know.
on your 1 dice chase. So this is what you get.
Hey, man. I got lucky. I mean, hell, the fact that
What
she can
drugs have I
run
been
through
doing, y'all?
I don't know. The fact that she
Changeling.
can
It could
run
literally been
through the
anything.
thorns and part the thorns for us. Jesus. I mean, it's going to have to be a thing, though, where we cultivate a friendship so we can call on her when we're in the hedge or if she's out on the land or something.
I'm going to pat you on the shoulder too, Enoch. It's I told her there were lots of trees at your place, so I really hope I didn't just lie to her. I'm just throwing that out there.
Let's have a look. Yeah, there are trees around there. That said, he's going to have to deal with all the shattered trees that appear.
Well, again, like I said, I'm going to have to lay down some rules and boundaries. You can only shatter so many of them, and while you're here, you need to stay within, or at least I can only assure your safety within the boundaries of my protectorate, and things like that.
Chamberlain kind of, with his 3-fingered hand, kind of gently shakes the hand of Remy and puts his other 3-fingered hand on top of Remy's hand and says, "Thank you so much for your help. If you have further needs, the Midnight Court here in West Virginia will always hear your concerns." And he turns to go.
I
Thank the
don't have
dwarf.
a hat in my, I don't have a hat in my mane, so I just tip hat in his direction. Take my leave.
Okay. Well, it's like right about time here, and you guys finished all of your objectives for the game day, to my understanding.
Yep, the next 2 we got to get is Bobby's done and Enoch's done.
Yeah, we need to figure out what contracts y'all are going to want to do, or if you're going to want to talk to Bartum, maybe. But yeah, you guys have 2 courts already at least starting to be set up.
Yep.
You don't know what contract the Midnight Court got, but you can maybe figure that out later if he shares that with you.
Not really any of our business.
Yeah. Well, it would be available to you if you had court goodwill merits for the Midnight Court. And Lisi is just a flippin' giant stone pigeon. I don't know. But she will, occasionally hang out at Enoch's place.
Yeah, like I said, definitely set some boundaries and limitations on that. What I can do, though, since she likes breaking logs and trees and stuff, is I could set up a firewood company and bring in some logs there, let her bash into them into smaller pieces.
I mean, that's actually kind of smart. That's kind of
maybe even talk her into being more precise and knocking them into wedges instead of splinters.
Tell her to practice.
Yeah, get her practicing. I mean, there's wood chips and stuff like that are a good source of fuel and stuff too. So that won't be too far out of the way. But yeah, when she first comes out there, give her a kind of a tour of the land, show her where the boundaries of my land are. Let her know she's not to harm anyone unless they're trying to encroach on my land. And she's free to stay anywhere out here, and let her see the few animals I got out here and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's careful around animals. You can see she recognizes that she's destructive.